A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Five bells. Stand by all stations.
Attention, all districts. A 5-alarm fire. 5 bells. Move in immediately.
That's it. Let's roll. Let's go. Firefighters.
Presenting Firefighters, the true-to-life story of our unsung heroes who stand ready to ride by day or night against our most murderous enemy, the demon of fire. In just a minute, we're going to meet Chief Cody and Tim Collins, rookie firemen, at Northside School in the corridor outside the hall where a riotous meeting of the Firefighters Brigade is in progress. But before we listen in, here is something else you ought to hear. Let's go, firefighters. Let's go to Northside School, where a conflict between Jimmy Collins and Whitey Williams threatens to wreck the Northside Firefighters Brigade. As you remember, a noisy meeting is in progress. And just a moment ago, the two visitors, Chief Cody and Tim Collins, rookie fireman, slipped out into the corridor to compare notes.
Whew, Collins. I've seen some uproarious meetings, but those kids go at it hammer and tongs.
Oh, yes, sir. For a moment, I was afraid Jimmy and Whitey Williams would start throwing punches.
Well, now we know what the trouble is. Whitey and your brother Jimmy just can't get along.
And because they pull in different directions, they'll tear the brigade in two. They're so different, those two kids, that they'll never agree on anything.
Your left hand is different from your right hand, isn't it?
Huh? Why, sure, but...
Yet they get along. They work together.
Why, sure, I'd hate to spare either one of them.
Right. And the brigade needs both those boys, Collins.
Well, you don't think they could ever work together?
You don't believe it? All right, Collins, watch me prove it. Let's go back into that meeting.
All right, but open the door carefully, Chief. There might be an explosion.
Don't think I don't know it. All right, here we go.
Oh, good grief. They're at it worse than ever, Chief Cody.
Mr. Chairman, I want to talk.
Order. Meeting come to order. Whitey Williams, you sit down.
Mr. Chairman, give me the floor.
Quiet, or I'll adjourn.
Be ready to back me up, Collins.
Anything you say, Chief Cody.
Mr. Chairman.
Order. Our distinguished visitor wants to talk.
Mr. Chairman, if I may be permitted...
Oh, golly. That's better.
Mr. Chairman, have I the floor?
You bet. I mean, yes, Chief Cody. And look, everybody, the chief is an honorary member, don't forget. So it's just like one of us regular members talking.
Mr. Chairman, everybody knows that. That was the first resolution we passed when we...
Whitey Williams, you pipe down. You've been talking all day, objecting to this and objecting to that, and I've heard about all...
Mr. Chairman, as I have the floor and as our time is growing short, I ask the indulgence of the members of the Northside Firefighters Brigade.
Why, yeah, Chief Cody. Go ahead and indulge. Indulge what?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I come to you with a problem.
Oh. A problem, Chief Cody? You want us to help with a problem? Gee.
A problem which I may say has caused some concern to the city fire department. Am I right, Collins?
Yes, sir.
Have you any idea what I'm talking about, Collins?
Not the slightest.
Point of personal privilege or point of order or something.
Oh, sit down.
You've got to recognize me. Point of privilege.
We'll make it fast. Now what?
Over here, we can't hear what the chief is saying.
I ask Mr. Williams' pardon, Mr. Chairman. I was addressing a question to my colleague, Mr. Timothy Collins. The purpose of my question, I may say, was to ask Mr. Collins to take the witness stand.
Huh? We gonna have a trial?
I mean to tell this meeting the circumstances of the problem which has baffled the fire department. Mr. Collins?
Hey, Chief, I don't know what you're driving at.
You will in a minute. Now, just get up. Hold their attention so they won't get to fighting again.
Yes, sir. At your services, Chief Cody. Members, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Private Collins. Now then, Private, will you kindly relate the mysterious occurrence in the metal shop at 10 Patterson Street on Friday morning of the week just past.
So that's it.
That's it. The sprinkler system that fooled us all.
Oh, well, now that I know what I'm talking about.
Kindly proceed, Private Collins.
Well, boys and girls, Mr. Chairman and fellow firefighters, as you know, I have the honor to be attached to a certain engine company in the city fire department.
Oh, sure, Tim. Engine 209.
Everybody knows that.
Order. My gosh, Whitey, can't you let anybody else talk? Go on, Tim. Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Jimmy. Mr. Chairman. Now, last Friday morning at exactly 10:43 in the morning, as we were finishing committee work, an alarm was tapped in from a private box at 10 Patterson. Chief Cody, maybe you'll tell what happened next?
All right, Private. Well, the call was from the Lee building in the manufacturing district, a building with a number of machine shops and other small industries on every floor. I rolled myself when that alarm came in. And when I got there, I met Collins coming out of the door of the building.
It's a dry run, Chief.
No fire?
No, sir, not a sign. Lieutenant Greenspan has ordered all companies back to quarters, all but the salvage crew.
What happened, Collins? False alarm?
No, sir. One of the sprinkler heads let go.
Let go?
Yes, sir.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, Chief, up there on the second floor, up in the Mammoth Metal Works, there's a line of sprinklers hung from the ceiling in case of fire at one of the machines.
Yeah.
Suddenly, without warning, one of the sprinkler heads began to spray water. Even though there was no fire, not any more heat than usual from the machines, no reason at all.
Well, that sprinkler head must have something wrong with it.
Well, I've just put in a new one, Chief. Here's the old one.
Let me have it. I'll turn it over to the department laboratory for examination.
Yes, sir. Here it is, sir. We've shut off the water to the sprinkler system.
Well, then turn it on again. And tell Lieutenant Greenspan that 209 can return to quarters.
Yes, sir.
I'll tell my driver. No, you tell him that I'm up on the second floor at the Mammoth Metalworks.
Yes, sir.
I'll stand by until the salvage crew cleans up.
Chief Cody, I got a question.
Order. Whitey, you can't ask any questions till the chief gets through.
With the permission of the chair.
Yes, sir?
Before I finish, maybe we ought to clear up any questions. So if Whitey wants anything cleared up...
Yes, sir. Okay, Whitey, only don't take all day.
Chief Cody, the way these sprinklers work, there's a pipe that runs along the ceiling and it's full of water. And the sprinkler heads, they stick out of the pipe, right?
Right.
And when there's a fire, the heat melts a little thing that keeps the water from running out of the sprinkler head, right?
Right. And when that little thing melts, the sprinkler head sprays water on the fire.
Only this time there wasn't any fire. So there was something wrong with the sprinkler head.
Oh, what could be wrong if you know so much?
Well, listen, it's a metal shop, isn't it? And they use acids on metal sometimes, don't they?
All right, what of it?
Well, the acid, that makes fumes in the air. And the fumes get at the sprinkler head and they make it all looky. I mean, they can corrode it, can't they? So in this Mammoth Metal Works, the sprinkler head maybe was corroded. It must have been.
Oh, look, if you know so much about
A good point, Mr. Chairman.
Huh? You don't mean Whitey is right?
Well, now, let me finish. Whitey might have been right, except for what happened next.
Well, what happened next was you said Tim Collins put in a brand new sprinkler head.
He did, and he turned on the water. And I went up to look over the situation. And 10 minutes later... Private Collins, let's hear your side of it.
Yes, sir. Well, Chief, Engine 209 rolled back to quarters. Lieutenant Greenspan reported us back in service, and before we had our turnout coats and boots stowed away, a second call came in from the same box.
Oh, golly. Only this time I bet you found the fire.
No, sir. No fire. It was that sprinkler head again.
But it was a brand new sprinkler head. It couldn't get all corroded in just that short time.
That's it, Whitey. Twice, inside half an hour, that sprinkler system went off without reason, drowning the machines in the Mammoth Metal Works.
And the second time, you were right there yourself.
I was there, and so was the salvage crew, mopping up the water, helping to put the machines back in order.
But didn't you see anything?
I did not. How about you, Collins?
Well, all I saw when we rolled to answer that second alarm was Chief Cody madder than a wet hen and wetter than a wet hen, too.
Well, we don't have to go into that.
Yes, sir.
But, boys and girls, there's my problem. There's what puzzled the whole fire department. What went wrong at 10 Patterson Street?
Well, gee, can't the engine men figure it out? They all know about water and pressure and stuff.
No, the laboratory. Listen, the laboratory, that's where they know all about the sprinklers, isn't it?
Well, now the answer must be found. And Whitey, you have the scientific slant. And Jimmy, you know a lot about regular firefighting.
Oh, yeah.
So I wonder, could you two give us some time, maybe sit in on the investigation, help us figure it out, huh?
Oh, well, gosh, help the department?
Well, if we...
Oh, boy, Whitey, what do you say?
Oh, gosh, Jimmy, say yes, quick. Say yes for the both of us, huh?
Well, then, that's that. All right, now, meet me tomorrow at headquarters, and when we get a solution, you can report it here at your next meeting of the Firefighters Brigade, huh?
Oh, boy, meeting's adjourned.
So Chief Cody, in his effort to save the Firefighters Brigade at Northside School from breaking up over the rivalry between Whitey Williams and Jimmy, Tim Collins' younger brother, has introduced a note of mystery. Is it possible for Jimmy and Whitey to find a solution? Well, you'll find out when you hear our next true-to-life episode of The Firefighters. In just a moment, Chief Bob Cody will tell you, boys and girls, how you can help the firefighters in your own town. But first, here's a message you ought to hear. And now, Chief Bob Cody with a special notice for the Firefighters Brigade. Chief Cody.
Hello, boys and girls. This is your friend, Chief Cody, with another common cause of fire to add to your list. A right piece, 2 words. Oily material. That means anything that can hold grease or oil waiting for a spark to set it aflame or just waiting to catch fire by its own action. So remember that fire cause. Oily material. And if there's any in your house, keep it in a metal container. Well, that's all for now. You'll be hearing from me soon.
Fire Chief Cody and the young rookie fireman Tim Collins will be back on the same station the next time you hear...
That's it. Let's roll. Let's go. Firefighters.
Autolite and its 98,000 dealers bring you Mr. Herbert Marshall in tonight's presentation of Suspense. Tonight, Autolite presents part 2 of one of the most famous of all literary puzzles, Charles Dickens' unfinished novel, The Mystery of Edwin Droop. Our star, Mr. Herbert Marshall. Hello, Senator. How's our legislative leader?
Harlow, what's this I hear about you being up for assault and battery?
Oh, that's a Stay Full battery, Senator. The Autolite Stay Full. That fit, fine, and famous battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
Then you're not in trouble.
Ah, not with an Autolite Stay Full, Senator. Fiberglass mats protect every positive plate against shedding and flaking to give the Autolite Stay Full battery longer life, as proved by tests conducted according to accepted life cycle standards.
And my Autolite battery dealer will substantiate that story, Harlow?
He sure will, Senator, and he's the expert who services all makes of batteries. Friends, to quickly locate your nearest Autolite battery dealer, call Western Union by number...
And ask for Operator 25. I'll gladly tell you the name of your nearest Autolite battery dealer, where you can get an Autolite Stay Full.
The battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite presents Charles Dickens' The Mystery of Edwin Drood, starring Mr. Herbert Marshall, hoping once again to keep you in suspense.
When the wicked man turneth away from his wickedness, he shall save his soul alive. So it has been said, so it has been written. But what of him who strives to turn away in torment and desperation and finds that he cannot? What is it that will happen to him? What is it that will happen to me? It was was on a grey Christmas morn that I, John Jasper, instructor in music at Cloisterham College, sought the answers to those questions. I sought them within myself, within my music, within the paling stars seen dimly through the organ loft windows. But no answers came, only a memory or a dream. I seemed to see a man walking alone through the deserted night-blackened streets of Cloisterham. The deserted streets which were suddenly no longer deserted. Then the memory was gone. The dream was over. And I was at my gatehouse lodgings looking for him who should have been there, looking for the man I suddenly knew would never be there again. Edwin! Edwin! Dean Crisparkle, open up! It's John Jasper. Open up, I say.
Jasper? What is it, man?
My nephew, Edwin Droop. Where is he?
Edwin?
Yes, he went to the river last night to look at the storm with Neville Landless.
With Neville?
Yes, and he never came back. Where is he? Ask Landless where he is.
Neville's not home either.
Not home?
I'll be down directly.
As he joined me, the brave realization of what might have transpired was clearly writ upon Dean Crisparkle's face. Hurriedly, he roused a number of cottage servants from their holiday beds, and a search was begun. A search for my missing nephew, Edwin Drood, and for the Dean's missing protege, Neville Landless. There it is. The river. The river they went to see at the height of the storm last night.
You never saw them again, Jasper?
No, neither one returned.
Was there any quarrel between them? Any hint of the disagreements they'd had upon another occasion?
None. The Christmas Eve dinner had gone exactly as I'd planned. They'd shaken hands. Apparently had resolved their differences, and when they left, they went arm in arm.
Tell me, Jasper, whose idea was it to visit the river? Was it Neville's?
I'll not cast doubt where it may be undeserved. It could have been anyone's suggestion. Mine, Edwin's.
I don't like this, Jasper. There's a feeling about it all that strikes chill to my bone. Oh, hark, one of the searching parties. They found someone, Jasper. They found...
You take your hands off me. What right have you...
Edwin Drood is still among the missing.
Like this? Easy does it now,
Take
sir.
them off!
Easy as you please, Mr. Landless. You take your hands off me. What right have you to... Seize my person like this, will you? Take them off me! In a moment, sir, in a moment. There you be, Dean Crisparkle. We found your man, as you see.
Yes, Joe, I see you may release him.
Aye, sir. But it's belligerent he is. I'd beware of him if I was you. Didn't want to return with us at all, he didn't.
What is all this, sir? What is the meaning? I was out for an early morning walk when these blackguards seized me bodily. They forced me to return here and said it was by your orders.
As it was, Neville.
But why, sir? Surely there's some explanation. Why?
Where is my nephew, Landless?
Your nephew?
Yes, Edwin Drood. Where is he?
Why ask me? Why should I know of Drood's whereabouts?
Because you were the last person in his company, and he's not to be found. Speak, sir. Where is he?
Stay, Jasper. Permit me to question him. Neville, you left Mr. Jasper's residence last night with Edwin Drood?
Yes, sir.
You went down to the river together?
Yes, to see the reaction of the storm upon it.
How long did you stay there?
Well, we're at, 10 minutes, more or less.
And then?
Well, Drood took leave of me.
Did he say where he was going,
Well,
then?
yes, to return to Mr. Jasper's.
That was the last you saw of him?
The very last. If something's happened to Drood, I most certainly had nothing to do with it.
What are those stains upon your jacket, Mr. Landless?
The stains?
And that walking stick you're carrying, Joe. The same stains are upon it.
Aye, so they are. Bloodstains they be, Mr. Jasper.
And the stick, to whom does that belong?
Why, to Mr. Landless, sir. We took it off him. Had to, the fuss and all he was putting up.
Well, of course they're bloodstains. I fought with these men thinking they were footpads. If there's blood that's been spilled, it must be theirs or mine.
Neville, I think you'd best accompany us to the authorities.
At my suggestion, we repair to the residence of Cloisterham's Lord High Mayor, Mr. Thomas Sapsea. And as we stood there in his parlor, the rendering of authority was as I knew it would be. Not unlike the person of Mr. Sapsea himself. Unimaginative, dull, stupid.
Well, gentlemen, this all seems quite clear to me, quite clear. And I am one who has spared little pain, gentlemen, in training myself to see things clearly.
They may be clear to you, sir, but they are far from being so to me.
Patience, young man, patience. Justice will be done here, of that you may rest well assured. Yes, well assured. And now, allow me to enumerate the situation. Point number 1. There have been several witnessed quarrels between the two young men in question. The missing Edwin Drood and the here present Neville Landless.
The quarrels had been repaired, sir. Mr. Jasper himself bears witness to that.
I have stated there was no quarrel or apparent difference at your last meeting, Mr. Landless.
Quite so, quite so. One meeting without quarrel, several with. The scales are unbalanced, I quote. Particularly, one might say, as the subject or object of those quarrels was the fiancée of Mr. Drood.
Surely, Mr. Sapsea, it is not necessary to bring a young lady's name into this.
I apologize for the necessity, Mr. Jasper, but it would seem to me that the charming and delightful Miss Rosa is truly at the heart of the matter confronting us. At its heart, yes.
In one respect, I am forced to agree with you. There is no doubt that Landless was extremely envious of Edwin's good fortune in being betrothed of Rosa.
Yes, as I say, the heart. Now, point number 2. The two gentlemen disappeared together into the night. Point number 3, Mr. Drood never appears again. Point 4, Mr. Landless is apprehended upon the heath, obviously fleeing Cloisterham, and is returned only by force. Point 5, unexplained bloodstains are found upon his person and upon the stick he was carrying.
I was not fleeing Cloisterham, and the bloodstains are not unexplained.
Circumstances indicate otherwise, Mr. Landless. Yes, otherwise. And the taking of a fellow creature's life is to take something that don't belong to you, you know.
Taking of a fellow creature? What madness is this? Oh, Mr. Jasper, surely you don't believe that...
My interest lies only in the return of my nephew. And it is never to return in seeing that justice is rightly done.
Yes, precisely what I had in mind, Mr. Jasper. Precisely.
My further suggestions to Mr. Sapsea were immediately carried out. Placards were posted, the river dragged. A feverish search began. Days went by, then weeks. And the end result was nothing. No trace of Edwin Drood was ever found. Finally, when all hope was abandoned, Mr. Sapsea delivered his final resolution.
It would appear, gentlemen, that the mystery of Edwin Drood has not as yet been solved. No, not solved. However, certain horrible suspicions as yet remain. In the interests of all concerned, therefore, I make the following suggestion. It is that Mr. Neville Landless remove his presence from the city of Cloisterham, and unless there comes a time when certain horrible suspicions no longer exist, that he remain away from here forever.
Late afternoon of that same day, I went to see Rosa. We met in the garden of the seminary house.
You wish to see me, Mr. Jasper?
That is a desire which has lived with me for a long while, Rosa. Only the unhappy circumstances of the past few weeks have prevented its fulfillment.
And you feel that Mayor Sapesea's announcement has now cleared the way for you?
Not for me. For us.
Grief does not come to an end with an official pronouncement, Mr. Jasper.
Surely even the natural sadness you feel must be tinged with relief.
Relief?
You no longer are faced with the prospect of a forced, distasteful marriage to Edwin. You're free of your promise to your parents. Now that Edwin's gone, there's nothing to prevent our getting married at once.
Our getting married?
I'm sorry I put it so bluntly, my dear, but we waited so long, kept our love for each other bedded so deeply. Surely you can't blame me for speaking so frankly now.
No, and with Edwin gone, there's no need for me to be silent. You have my solemn word for it, Mr. Jasper, that there is not one drop of love in my heart for you, rather only loathing and hatred.
Rosa!
I've always despised you, though I tried to hide it for Edwin's sake. Despised you because you pursued me with your eyes, with your thoughts, whispering to me in your mind of your obscene love, even though I was engaged to Edwin. Edwin, the nephew you so falsely pretended was the dearest thing on earth to you.
Rosa, you're overwrought. The strain of these past weeks.
You refuse to believe.
I can't believe it, my dear.
Love you, an old man. The man I love, the man I still love, is Neville Landless.
Landless?
Yes, Neville, the man I was going to marry.
What do you mean, Rosa? You were going to marry Edwin?
No, Mr. Jasper.
You told me you were.
That was before Edwin and I released each other from our vows, Mr. Jasper.
Released? Then Edwin didn't have to die.
No, Mr. Jasper. Whether Edwin was alive or dead, I was free to marry the man of my choice.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. Herbert Marshall in The Mystery of Edwin Drood. Tonight's presentation in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Hello, our committee is investigating.
And what have you found, Senator?
That the Autolite Stay Full battery needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
Now, that's not all, Senator, because the Autolite Stay Full battery gives longer life, as proved by tests conducted according to accepted life cycle standards.
Yes, Harlow, and you know what's responsible.
Why, those fiberglass retaining mats that surround every positive plate to reduce shedding and flaking and hold the power-producing materials in place.
And we found the Autolite Stay Full battery is the favorite of millions of car owners from coast to coast.
Thank you, Senator. Friends, see your Autolite battery dealer. He services all makes of batteries, and he has an Autolite Stay Full for your car if a replacement is needed. To quickly locate him, phone Western Union by number and ask for Operator 25.
I'll tell you the name of your nearest Autolite battery dealer, where you can get an Autolite Stay Full, the battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Herbert Marshall in Elliot Lewis's production of The Mystery of Edwin Drood, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
How does one relate the ending of a world, the stunning collapse of all that has meaning, of all that is life? I will not attempt to do so. For everything that can be said was said on that fateful afternoon. And so the story of Edwin Drood was over. Or so I thought.
Good day to you, Mr. Jasper.
Huh? Oh, it's you, Doddles.
Aye, him what is known as Old Doddles it be. Come to pay another visit to the resting place of the old uns, Mr. Jasper?
I didn't know, Doddles. As a matter of fact, I hadn't even noticed that I was walking past the crypt. My mind was elsewhere, I imagine.
I thought perhaps you might be coming round for another lesson in burying dead bodies, Mr. Jasper.
What's meant by that about, Doddles?
Well, now, I recalls one night old Doddles gave you a lesson about finding bodies of the old ones, tapped here and there with his hammer he did, pointing out the hollow walls. Remembers, don't you?
Oh, yes, I believe I recall something like that. An evening without anything to do, idle curiosity.
It could have been, Mr. Jasper. Though it didn't seem as such on last Christmas Eve, it didn't.
What about last Christmas Eve?
Why, you was down here again, Mr. Jasper, tapping the walls with Doddle's hammer yourself, you was.
You're mistaken. I was nowhere near the crypt on Christmas Eve.
Perhaps.
And I'll wager you had a bottle or two of holiday cheer beneath your belt at the time.
Perhaps. Though I would have swore it were you.
Hello! Come in, Mr. Jasper. Come in.
And who may you be, sir?
Datchery's the name, Dick Datchery. Came calling, found you out, made us up at home.
So I note.
This? Favorite of mine, mulled wine. Thought I'd prepare, honor the occasion and all.
The occasion of an absolute stranger making himself at home in my lodgings.
Not ordinary circumstances, Quite agree. Nevertheless, honorable occasion.
Then perhaps you'd care to explain, Mr. Datchery.
Gladly. Perfect, sir. Won't you join me?
I'm awaiting that explanation, sir.
I bring you greetings, sir.
Greetings from whom?
Your dear boy, Mr. Jasper. Greetings from Edwin Droop.
Greetings from Edwin?
Aye, sent you the best. Apologizes for not writing. Trust you're not worried. Told you, didn't I? Honorable occasion.
Indeed, this is an occasion, Mr. Datchery. I've been worried sick about the dear boy. You found him well?
Blooming, best of health.
Where is he? Where did you meet with him?
London, some lodging house. Kept meeting on stairs, natural thing.
Of course, quite natural.
Business took me to Cloisterham. Told Edwin. Made me promise the greetings. Here I am. Care to try the wine? Quite good.
My apologies, Mr. Datchery. Certainly I would.
Toast to Edwin?
To Edwin.
Perfect. Well, you're on my way now. Duty over.
One moment, Mr. Datchery. I must write Edwin and tell him how happy you've made me. What's the dear boy's address?
You haven't got it. He moved. Didn't say where.
Then there's no more you can tell me about him, where he can be reached?
Nothing.
I see.
Wondering if it's a tall tale, Mr. Jasper? No real greeting? No real Edwin?
Surely that's a possibility, Mr. Datchery.
Ordinarily, not now. Mementos. Wanted you to have them. To remember him. Duty's fully discharged. I'll be leaving. Good day, Mr. Jasper. Excellent wine.
I scarcely heard him leave, this Mr. Datchery. I was staring at the object he placed upon the table. A watch and chain. Edwin's watch and chain. He'd been wearing them the night of the big storm. The last night he'd been seen alive. Mr. Datchery!
Mr. Jasper, one moment, please.
Good afternoon, Rosa.
Oh, have you heard the news, Mr. Jasper?
What news, Rosa?
It concerns Edwin Drood.
Edwin?
Yes, he's alive, Mr. Jasper. Edwin's alive. Oh, did you hear me, Mr. Jasper? Did you hear what I said about Edwin? He's alive.
That's a rather astounding statement, Rosa.
I know. I could scarcely believe it myself, but here. This came to me in the post today from London. It's a letter from Edwin. Oh, isn't it wonderful, Mr. Jasper? That we were all so certain that he was dead, that someone had killed him on the night of the storm. And there in your very hand is the proof that he's alive.
No greater horror can visit the mind of man than the certain knowledge that he has suddenly become mad. And such was the horror which dwelt within me that fateful day. For it was the only explanation that was left. Edwin was dead. He had to be. The memory or dream that had lived with me since Christmas morn was too clear, too sharply etched, for there to be any doubt. Edwin was dead. And yet, within a single afternoon, two people had brought me proof that Edwin was alive. Proof as clear, as sharply edged as that memory. A sane mind does not exist in a world of such paradox. I'd gone mad. Time finds no haven within the dread confines of madness. Nor was that day an exception. Somehow, without my knowing of it, the day was gone. In what had been a sunlit sky,
A night's darkened storm lay muttering ominously. My mud-spattered gaiters, bone-weary legs spoke mutely of hours of aimless wandering, hours of doing fruitless battle with that thing of horrible wonder, a part, which was now my mind. And then I was where I've been destined to be all along, the one place where the truth could be found, incontestable truth. I entered the venerable crypt of Cloisterham. Flashes of lightning etched in weird relief the ruined habitations of the dead. Half-standing pillars of stone assumed the attitude of watchful guardians, grinning evilly from their sentry boxes of the night. And the broken wall toward which I made my way was an ancient catacomb, concealing within it the secret that only I knew was there. I climbed to its top and looked down upon the rubbish that almost filled the hollow space between its sides. A rusty spade lay nearby. I seized it and began to dig. Again, time became meaningless. There was nothing but the feverish labor of uncovering the truth, of finding a rusted watch and chain that would not possibly lie bright and untarnished on my table, of uncovering a skeletonized human hand that was incapable of writing the letter I'd seen. And then the labor, too, became meaningless. There was no watch, no chain, no hand. There was nothing in there but rubble.
Looking for something, Mr. Jasper?
Landis.
I asked you if you were looking for something, Mr. Jasper.
What are you doing here? You were ordered to stay away from Cloisterham.
I came back, Mr. Jasper.
Why? What are you doing here?
Same thing that you are, seeking the truth.
The truth about what?
The mystery of Edwin Droop.
There is no mystery. Edwin Droop is alive.
Is he?
Ask Rosa. Ask Mr. Datchery. They'll tell you. They know he's alive.
No, Mr. Jasper. You killed him last Christmas Eve. Edwin Droop is dead.
He's not. I tell you, how could he be? If he were dead, why isn't he lying in this grave? The grave in which I...
The grave in which you buried him?
No. There was no grave, only a dream. It was all a dream.
What was a dream, Mr. Jasper?
Everything. Pouring him back to the river, my hands around his throat, hiding his body here in this wall. It was all a dream. Can't you understand? I've been driven out of my mind by a dream. I didn't do it.
But you did, Mr. Jasper.
You're a fool, Landless. Look for yourself. This grave I prepared for him is empty. He isn't there.
No, but he was here until 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago?
That was when a London detective and I found what was left of him.
Actually?
Yes. With the help of Durdles and his invaluable hammer, we found Edwin Drood, found the watch which identified him. You told me just now how you killed him.
The watch? And Rosa's letter?
Written several years ago, reposted from London. Shall we go now, Mr. Jasper?
Go?
You took me before the authorities once. Now it's my time to take you. Prospect of the gallows make you happy, Jasper?
In a way, Landis. At least I'll go to it, knowing that I wasn't mad.
Suspense. Presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Mr. Herbert Marshall.
This is Harlow Wilcox speaking for Autolite, world's largest independent manufacturer of automotive electrical equipment. Autolite is proud to serve the greatest names in the industry. That's why during the early months of this year, as we did a year ago, the Autolite family will join together in saluting the leading car manufacturers who install Autolite products as original equipment. Our Autolite family includes some 30,000 men and women in Autolite plants in the United States, Canada, and many foreign countries, and the 18,000 people who have invested a portion of their savings in Autolite, as well as thousands of Autolite distributors and dealers, and the many leading manufacturers who use Autolite products as original equipment. Our Autolite family will salute the DeSoto division of Chrysler Corporation on the next Autolite Suspense television program. If you live in a television area, check the day and time of Suspense so that you will be sure to see this program.
Next week, we recreate an historical puzzle as we attempt to locate a sunken treasure. The story, based on fact, is called Gold of the Adomar. Our star, Mr. John Hodiak. That's next week on Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by Elliott Lewis, with music composed by Lucien Morawick and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The Mystery of Edwin Drood was adapted from Charles Dickens' unfinished novel by Sidney Marshall. In tonight's story, Ben Wright was heard as Landless. Featured in the cast were Betty Harford, Joseph Kearns, Ramsey Hill, Charles Davis, and William John Stone. And remember, next week, Mr. John Hodiak in Gold of the Adomar.
This is the CBS Radio Network.
Arch Oboler's Plays. Stories of the unusual.
Now, this is Arch Oboler. You've all heard of the Hollywood premiere where a press agent loads an airplane full of large and small Hollywood celebrities, then rushes them through the sky to some town where the Chamber of Commerce has been talked into being generous. Well, that gave me an idea for a play about the road back from one of those publicity excursions. A road back that perhaps you won't forget very easily. Its title is Special to Hollywood, and it begins after a short message.
Arch Oboler's play, Special to Hollywood. The scene, a twin-engine plane, returning a fading Hollywood star home, moves through the sky at high speed. A pompous-looking individual stands talking to the pilot.
Pilot, I want to talk to you.
Sure, go ahead.
The weather ahead. What's the report? Miss Milford wants to know.
Same as an hour ago, all clear.
Can't you make this thing go faster?
Not exactly dragging our tail. I got to pull out, mister.
Don't mister me. I've got a name. Mr. Elson.
Yes, Mr. Elson.
Man charters a plane. He deserves a little respect.
I meant no disrespect.
All right.
Mark, come back here.
Coming, dear. Coming. Yes, Lona?
Did you tell him to hurry up?
Yes, I certainly did. At least the seats are comfortable.
A chartered plane, he tells me. Who chartered it last? Lindbergh?
Very funny dialogue.
The devil with the dialogue. I'm tired. I want to get home.
Darling, how could you get home faster?
You tell me.
I charter a special plane to save 3 hours waiting. You're in Chicago. We transfer to a jet.
All right. Get me a drink and shut up.
Now, Lona, don't start in with me again. I did everything I could.
Stop dead.
Oh, Lona.
What's that quart bottle in your suitcase? Holy water?
Now, what do you mean going through my bag?
I didn't go through your stinking bag. It was open.
All that's open is your mouth.
Fire him! Fire him!
Bob, watch it.
Fire him!
Yes, sure, fire me.
I want him fired.
I had my gut full of you and your garbage.
Garbage! Did you hear?
Okay, mister, you're out.
Out. You big bag of wind, you can't fire me. I got my salary lien on everything you own.
Throw him out!
Fire it, I tell you.
Why, you're not a producer. You're a fat jerk fugitive from the laundry that she used to work.
What do you...
That's it. I'm going to run you out of Hollywood.
Oh, funny.
Down to Hollywood, hear me? Down to Hollywood. Crazy fool. Climbing like that.
Oh, well, don't stand there. Give him the devil.
All right. Mr. Mister, you crazy?
I'm sorry. I had to glide. Thunderhead. Clear sky ahead, and all of a sudden this...
Who cares about the storm? You might have broken her neck.
I told you I'm sorry. I called back to warn you on the intercom with all that arguing. I guess you didn't hear me.
All right. But watch it.
Wait a minute.
Huh?
Yeah, a message for you. Came over the radio.
Mark, come here.
Yeah, I'm coming.
What are you reading?
Can you imagine that?
Imagine what?
Oh, look, I got a cut on my face.
A lousy pilot. Mark, did you tell him off? Well, don't stay there with the egg on your face. What's the matter with you?
Radio message. It says John Webster killed himself.
Huh?
You're kidding. John Webster committed suicide.
Say, killing himself.
Oh.
What are you laughing at?
So he's dead. So maybe now it's going to work out.
Why?
What are you saying?
I'll put it into small words. The play flopped, all right. But the movie rights, we've got them, haven't we? So the boy, Beatnik, who wrote the masterpiece, kills himself.
Say.
Congratulations.
Lorna, you mean that now he can't bother us with that injunction?
Oh, Bob, you tell him.
With this angle, you can raise the money for the picture, and you can turn it into a gold mine.
Oh, what are you talking? All right, I'll tell you. The reason we'll give the kid killed himself was because the story was so terrific. He was done, finished.
Yeah, his life's work ended. So the reviews for the play weren't so good, so it wasn't even intended for a play. It was a great property for a movie all along. The basic story. That was the kid's peak in life. So we finished, and he bowed out.
Who'd believe that? The newspapers would throw you out.
Oh, no, they wouldn't. Not if you had a letter the kid wrote you just before he killed himself.
Well, that's all right.
But he didn't write me any such letter.
Oh, for... Alona, you tell him.
For Pete's sake, did the screwball have to write a letter? Aren't there plenty of characters you've got at the studio who'll write a letter like that for $10?
And give you change of $5.
Aren't there?
Say.
What
the devil?
Thunderstorm.
The lights! Turn on the lights!
Pilot!
March on to get us out of it! Airsick! I'll get airsick! Crazy pilot!
I'll go see what's...
No, don't leave me.
Okay.
It's all right. It's going to be all right. He's climbing us over the top of the storm.
You and your blasted bargain.
Lona.
Hey, look.
Huh?
What?
Clouds out there. Like a gateway to hell. Hey, Lona, it doesn't look like the studio entrance. You know, the side one when you used to be queen of the
Will
cats.
you shut your mouth?
Lona, don't start.
Don't you tell me what to do, you two-bit has-been. Not now, not ever.
Lona, for the last time.
Hey, wait a minute.
Listen.
Both of you, listen. Now, this is important. I got a great idea. That junior grade author. When we land, I'll send a wire. I'll ship the body west, and we'll bury him with full honors. You know, the forest lawn bit.
I don't know. Such expense. Who'd pay attention to a thing like a funeral?
Only Time, Life, Newsweek, that's all. Not to mention the Saturday Review, Harper's, and every other magazine that called the boy genius a genius when he was writing that poetry out of the heart stuff.
I don't know. It's morbid, you know.
Oh, you don't have to tell us you don't know. An original idea comes out of bird brain.
Now, look here.
And you don't know.
Oh,
Well,
stop
let
it,
me
Pete.
read you the fine print. A few hours ago, you could raise another dime on that property if you threw in your gold filling.
Well,
Now we've got a chance, through that publicity, to get financing. Make the picture to fill the theaters with the same kind of old cash-paying jerks who think that Jimmy Dean's still ghostwriting that Porsche racer of his somewhere in the sky. Well, what's the matter with you two? I'm talking to you. What are you staring at?
Listen.
Huh?
What the...
Bob, you hear it too?
Will you tell me what's the matter? What?
Engines.
Huh?
The engines. Can't hear them anymore.
Well, so what? We're landing. Shut off the engines because we're landing.
Pilot!
Something's wrong.
Shut up, Andy!
We're not landing. See, we're not landing.
What? But the engines...
They've stopped. We must be landing.
Shut up, you fools. We'll stop.
Oh, you crazy.
Look, I tell you.
What?
The indicator. Airspeed indicator.
Huh?
We're not falling.
Mark, what's he saying?
Listen, I'm telling you, we're not falling. Engines are dead and we're not falling. Don't you understand? We're hanging. Just hanging in the air.
We leave Special to Hollywood for a short message. Now back to Arch Oboler's strange play, Special to Hollywood. An airplane hangs motionless, 10,000 feet in the air.
Hanging. There.
You dirty-faced buzzard. What are you trying to pull on me? What are you trying to pull?
Rob's dead. Hanging in the air.
Now, listen, the three of you. I've been around. They put all kinds of fancy tricks on me. Well, if this is a gag, I don't like it. You hear me? I don't like it. Get me down out of here.
Please. I don't want to.
Bob!
Just passed out. Get him up. On the seat. Telephone there.
Bob,
He'll be all right. Hanging in the air.
Now stop saying that. This is a gag, isn't it? Tell me, isn't it? We're moving. We've got to be moving.
Lady, take it easy.
Well, tell me what's happening. What? You've got to talk. You've got to tell me we are moving, aren't we?
No.
You liar, you dirty liar. We are. We are.
Stop it. Stop it. Look. Out there.
You liar. Trying to scare me.
I tell you, look. Look, see? On the clouds, our shadow, standing still. Do you believe me now? We're not moving. Get it through your head. We're hanging in space.
Pilot. Sam.
Yeah?
What time is it?
5.
The radio?
No use.
Huh?
Tried it 100 times. Dead as...
Where it going to be?
Maybe.
How long have we been?
20 minutes.
Only that.
Yeah.
Mark, I'm talking to you.
Hanging. Yeah.
I wish I was like he is.
Yeah.
Bob?
Still asleep.
Wore himself out crying. Just like a kid. Funny, huh?
Funny?
I was sitting here. I was thinking when I was a kid. Want to hear about when I was a kid?
Why not?
Well, Bob and all the rest of the publicity characters have written so much junk about me being the only daughter of, you know, poor but respectable small-town people that I almost got to thinking it was true. Yeah, would you believe it? I paid some phony over on Wilshire Boulevard $1,000 for a coat of arms of the family to hang up in the hall. You know, one of those fancy shields with lions crawling all over it and things. Should have had a couple of beer bottles on it instead of lions. Here. You want to know my real name? What's the difference? Beer bottles. Yeah. Beer bottles and the smell of laundry coming up the air shaft and a lot of dirt. That's what I remember when I was a kid. Sam?
Yeah?
I just wanted to hear you talk. What was I talking about? Oh, yes. I was thinking of something funny about when I was a kid. When it was hot, I used to lie up on the roof, look at the clouds, and think off I was just sort of hanging like they were up in the clean air. Honest, I did. It's funny now, huh?
Gravity.
What?
Did I say something?
You said gravity. Why?
I was thinking.
What?
Gravity's pulling us down.
Well?
I was thinking of what's pulling us up.
No, there aren't any answers.
No?
No answers. When I was a kid, I found answers. Yeah, how to get along. How to get out of that smell and that dirt. Rough answers. But they took me a long way. Would you believe it? Once I had a 7-year contract for $4,000 a week, 7 years, no options. Imagine that. Yeah, I did all right with my answers. Now I'm all out of answers.
Maybe there's one more.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You listen to me, suppose I listen to you.
I don't know how to talk.
Just go ahead.
All this time, I've been trying to figure things out.
So?
There isn't any real answer, but a kind of screwy idea has come to me.
Well, tell me.
Well, I'm just a guy. Ever since I've been able to stand on my own feet, everything's got to be able to add up, or it just doesn't mean anything to me. Well, when I was a kid, I really had, well, like you said, poor but respectable parents, you know, the kind that believed in heaven and hell and good and evil and all the rest of it. Funny, you thinking about when you were a kid, and me thinking the same thing.
You said you had an answer.
That's like this. I heard the three of you talking all the way from Philly to here, talking about nothing but yourselves, each one of you. Nothing meaning anything but yourselves. If we weren't like this up here, I know I wouldn't be able to say this, but, well, why not say it? You for a long time making more money in a week than a lot of guys with a family who sweat out their guts for in a year. And instead of the money making you understand anything, it's made you understand less than a blind woman walking in the dark. Everything's for you. The world's just a big eye, and everybody's there just to look at you on a wide screen. Everything's for you, and even when they're dead, they're for you. Yeah, I heard. Somebody wrote something, and you bought it and made a play out of it. Maybe it was an honest book, but you didn't buy it to be honest. You bought it to make a fast buck. So the kid blew his brains out, and even dead, he couldn't get away from you. Yeah, you were going to use his dead body to make you more money. Yeah, dead or alive, nothing means anything to you. There's no world but your screwy world. Everybody all over the world can crawl under the ground hiding from bombs, can be starved and watch their kids starve. Or die in the streets fighting for the right just to be, and it don't mean anything to you. None of it. As long as each of you can hold on to what you've got. Yeah. The three of you acting as if you weren't made of the same flesh and blood as the rest of us, as if making a lot of money and seeing your name in the paper a lot and getting a lot of applause took you right off the earth. Well, maybe something or somebody decided you weren't fit for the earth. Maybe... Crying?
No.
You asked me. I told you.
I was in a picture once. A girl got in a jam. She didn't know how to pray, but she started to. That was in a picture.
Clouds. So white. So strange.
It's like being held in the hand of...
Yeah.
Oh, it was a lousy trick, wasn't it?
Huh?
About that kid who died. I'm sorry about that. Even thinking about it, I'm sorry. The engine! Mark! Mark, wake up! We're falling!
All right. So it's settled. All right.
Sure, it's settled. I know my publicity. A thing like this isn't good. It's out of left field.
I'm not arguing with you. All right.
Spread a screwy thing like this, and every reporter in the country would hold his nose. It's too screwy, that's all.
Will you stop talking about it? For the last hour, my head's starting to go around. It's over. Finished. So, whatever it was, we'll We'll forget it.
Wait. The pilot. Did you talk to him?
Sure. He won't talk. He wants to eat, don't he? So he won't talk.
You got everything fixed.
Well, the prima donna's talking again.
Now, Lona, you understand? Nobody's going to know about this. Like Bob says, crazy publicity is bad publicity, and this all was crazy, wasn't it?
Oh, say, hallucination. Mass hysteria, that's all. You went off your rocker a little bit, and we all went with you.
It was the drinks. Yeah, we were all worn out. I kind of spiked the drinks, and that's all there was to it.
Hey, look, we're over the airport.
Good drink, too. I need a drink.
A bathtub full? Oh, I'm going to swim in it.
C47 coming in. C47 coming in. Hello, Joe. Clear for landing? No, nothing's wrong. No, just what I told you before. A little transmitter trouble, that's all. Everything's back to normal now. Yeah, everybody's okay.
Start back again.
Everything's just the same. Yeah.
Now, this is Arch Oboler again. My thanks first to William Shatner and to Gloria Blondell, Alan Reed, and Chet Stratton. The title of the next play I've written for you is The Day Sinatra Got Fat. Need I say more? I will after a short message. Oboler again. Tonight's sound was by Bud Tollefson, engineer Dave Diller, music Joe Leahy, and our announcer was Byron Kane. In answer to those people who've asked about a recording they might play on their home phonographs, might I whisper that there is now a capital recording of some of my horror plays titled, and please forgive me, folks, it's titled Drop Dead. Next week, my play, The Day Sinatra Got Fat, is about a very peculiar honeymooning couple who get snowbound in a mountain cabin and meet the reason that Mr. Sinatra got fat. But that's our next broadcast.
Arch Oboler's Plays. Stories of the unusual.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
And now the Whistler's strange story. Last message.
Only a few days before, Dave Leonard had told himself that there was no place quite like San Francisco. It was thrilling to be a part of it. The hills, the bay, the clanging cable cars. Only a few days before, Dave had been happy with his job, his surroundings, his home, and his wife. And now suddenly that was all changed, wiped away somehow. The city was a frightening place. His job, something that was threatened. His home, his wife, and things that he must give up, be put behind him as rapidly as possible, lest they be threatened too. And that was why Dave walked down Geary Street and across Powell to the airline's office. Inside, he approached the ticket window and asked for space on the very next plane for Los Angeles.
Here you are. 1346.
Thank you.
Is the flight on schedule? Will I be able to get away soon?
The limousine for the airport will be loading in 20 minutes, Mr. Leonard.
Oh.
You'll be on your way by, 4:30.
4:30. Good.
Hello, Dave. You going somewhere?
Yes.
No, I don't think that's such a good idea, do you? Would you mind refunding Mr. Leonard's money, please?
What?
He isn't going anywhere. He's changed his mind.
But...
Right, Dave? Aren't you staying around so we can talk some more?
Yes. Yes, he's right. Forget the whole thing.
Whatever you say, sir.
You scoop up your ticket money, Dave. Hurry outside. It's even more foreboding now, the city. The walls of its tall buildings seem to close in around you, don't they? Because he's back again. Apparently not letting you out of his sight for the past 3 days since he first found you. And now he's falling into step behind you, isn't he? No chance to run away.
That's better, Dave. Much better. No use being in a hurry. I've been right with you for the last 3 days. Why don't we stop in here and have a drink, huh? Chat some more.
All right. You're calling it.
Good bourbon, huh, Dave? Oh, you haven't touched yours.
Get to it, will you, Tommy? What do you want from me? Why have you chased me all the way across the country? Who sent you?
Easy, Dave, easy. None of the old bunch even knows you're alive. Honest, I ran onto you quite by accident.
I don't believe it.
It's true. Except for an accident, I'd have gone on like everybody else, believing exactly what it says on those New York police records. What the paper said at the time. Let's see, how did it go? Man leaps to death from River Bridge.
Stop it.
You didn't do it at all, did you? Just made it look that way. The note you left under your coat, a fake.
Couldn't get any places Marvin knows, Tommy. A man with a record isn't always welcome.
You served your time.
It didn't seem to make any difference.
Okay, so you got away with it. Working out pretty nice here, I understand, huh? Good job, pretty well.
It's all over.
Why?
Because of you. No matter how you found me, Tommy, you have. That's all that's important.
Nah, you don't have to change anything. Don't play ball.
I'm trying to live decently, Tommy. Can't you understand? I've managed to these past 6 years.
Almost 7, isn't it? Yeah, sure. Marvin knows we'll be legally dead soon. Nearly 7 years since you staged the big jump.
Tommy, I'm not going to take this. I don't have to.
Easy. Sit down. Now, you better think it over, Dave. The gang, they can play pretty rough. Maybe they think you talk too much.
I didn't. You know that.
Maybe not, but you know too much. Maybe they think you've already talked to your wife, that she knows too much. Well, if they could find Marv knows, they might like to silence him. Maybe his wife, too.
Stop it.
Yeah, of course you could go to the police, Dave. Cut your throat and mine and your wife's. I'm afraid it would cost you a lot more than your job. You see what I mean?
Yes. I see what you mean.
Then I think we understand one another. Well, I'll keep in touch, Dave. Let you know how and when you can help me, huh? Oh, and meanwhile, don't try to skip town anymore. You just might make me sore. And I wouldn't want to have to take care of you, Ma. Dave.
Yes, Dave, it's all changed. In the surprising arrival of one man, your old associate, Tommy Prentice. One man who can ruin your life, strike terror in your heart, cause the old familiar warmth and friendliness of the city you've come to love to turn into a chilled atmosphere of menace and despair. Back at home, you can't even bring yourself to talk about it. To the one person who's brought you more comfort and understanding than you'd ever dream possible.
Sue, if you don't mind, I don't want to talk anymore.
Dave, there's something bothering you. I know it. Something's on your mind.
No, there isn't. I'm just tired, that's all.
Today, this afternoon, you left the office early, didn't you?
You called the office?
At 3 o'clock. You hadn't come back from lunch to go soon.
You shouldn't have called.
Where were you, Dave?
I was detained, a customer.
Talk to a customer from noon until after 3?
Maybe. What of it?
Dave, is that all you're going to say?
Please, Sue, I was out on business. Isn't that enough? You have to cross-examine me?
I'm sorry.
Oh, forget it, Sue. I didn't mean it. Look, I don't know what's wrong with me. What do you say we go out tonight, huh? For a walk or to a movie. Get our minds off it.
Off what, Dave?
Okay, so I'll go out alone. There must be some way to stop these questions. I'll be back when you see me.
Even as you hurl the words at Sue and rush from the house, you're sorry, aren't you, Dave? But your mind is spinning with confusion, question marks. The hours of walking the streets alone fail to provide an answer. Then as you start toward home again and the dismal sound of the foghorn moans in at you from the waters near Golden Gate Bridge, a thought does occur. A dread final thought, but something that could provide an answer. Another bridge gave you an answer almost 7 years ago, didn't it, Dave? And now, with everything you've ever wanted and worked for being threatened, you find yourself thinking of staging another such act. Only this time it would be for Tommy Prentice. And what would appear to everyone as a simple suicide would actually be murder. You're still thinking about it as you slip the key in the latch and let yourself into the house. Cross to the bedroom.
Dave? So, I thought you were asleep.
I couldn't. Not with you away.
No, don't turn it away. Sue, I'm sorry about this evening. I didn't mean any of those things I said.
I know.
Anyway, I'm not mixed up anymore. Everything's clear in my mind. I've been worrying unnecessarily. Everything's going to be all right again. And soon.
Oh, this is Alfred Hotchkiss speaking. Have you ever wondered why the two large continents of the Western Hemisphere are called North and South America? Why weren't they called North and South Columbia? Possibly it was because poor Christopher Columbus spent his time making voyages instead of merely writing about them. You see, in 1503, a Florentine navigator named Amerigo Vespucci produced an account of 4 voyages he claimed to have made to the New World. Whether he really made them or not didn't matter, because a young geographer translated Vespucci's account and included it in a work he was publishing. The highlight of this publication was a map of the New World. The young geographer was so impressed with Vespucci's florid writing that he labeled one large area America. Later, mapmakers followed this example, and the name stuck. America remained America. So, my friends, if you would like some as yet undiscovered planet to bear your name, don't waste time journeying to it. Simply write a glowing account of the trip and get it into the proper hands. You, like Vespucci, will be immortalized. Of course, you should have a colorful first name, like Amerigo. It must be the first name, you know, for after all, who would believe North and South Vespucci?
It changed everything, didn't it, Dave? Your plans with your wife, Sue, hopes for the future. Everything was changed when Tommy Prentice walked into your life from the past and recognized you as Marvin Knowles, a man he'd known in the East, a man who once served time in prison and was trying his best to live it down with a new life in San Francisco as David Leonard. Yes, it was all changed. Tommy is a threat, but you think you found the answer, the one way out. And while you hate the thought of murder, you find yourself trying to figure it out and plan a way to talk Tommy into the trap. And finally you're rewarded with a remarkable bit of luck as Tommy admits his reasons for coming to the West Coast in the first place.
I gotta tell you, Dave, there's no use hiding. They're after me.
The police?
Yeah, them too, sure. But I'm not afraid of the police. It's the old gang. They think I double-crossed them.
Of course you didn't.
That's beside the point. Duke Watson and Frankie Dawson are here in town. I gotta get away from them, Dave. And you're gonna help me, see?
Sure. I figured there'd be something I'd have to do. I haven't much money, Tommy.
You have some and you have a car. I want you to drive me up north someplace. Seattle, maybe on into Canada.
But I can't do that.
You've got to. Or else I'll get word to Duke and Frankie that you and your wife are here. It's gotta be this way. If you don't, it's my neck. I can't just drop out of sight like you did. And if I was to travel with a man and his wife, they'd have a rougher time tracing me.
Now, wait a minute, Tommy.
What?
You just said something about dropping out of sight. Tommy.
Yeah?
Tommy, I faded out of the picture almost 7 years ago, remember? I made everybody think I jumped off a bridge, committed suicide.
So you fooled everybody but me, so what?
So why can't you do the same thing? I'd help you, Tommy, tell you what to do. You could write a note, say you were tired of running from Frankie Dawson and Duke Watson, who were trying to get you.
Huh? Hey, wait a minute. You really think
Didn't I make it, Tommy, didn't I?
Yeah, sure you did. Yeah, but you had a different reason. You wanted to go straight and couldn't get a break.
What do reasons matter, Tommy? The main thing is you'll throw them off your track.
Yeah.
You can travel alone. Go anywhere. It's somebody else.
Yeah, sure I could. Hey, I think you've hit it, Dave. You saved my life. All I got to do is write a suicide note, leave it on the bridge with my coat, and disappear. Duke Watson and Frankie Dawson will think I killed myself on account of the gang, huh?
That's right, Tommy.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. Leave a suicide note.
Yeah. You'll drive me north?
Yeah. I'll drive you.
He's fallen into your trap, hasn't he, Dave? Yes, and you're relieved. Yet far from pleased at the thought of what you've decided to do. You don't like to think about it, do you? What you plan to do out there in the fog. The way you'll silence Tommy Prentice. But you can't see any other way. You don't want to kill, but you decide you have to. That evening, you sit in the den, pretending to read the newspaper, struggling to conceal the panic and the terror mounting within you.
Dave.
Yes, sir?
I've been thinking, why don't we run down to Carmel for a few days? It would do us good to get away.
Yeah, I suppose so.
We could stay at the inn again. Remember? When was it? 3 years ago? Dave, you're not listening. What's the matter?
Matter? Nothing.
Something's been on your mind. Something rather serious, I'm afraid. Won't you tell me what it is?
Really, Sue, it's nothing at all.
We used to be able to talk over our little problems. Sort of iron things out together.
Yeah.
Dave, I suppose I'm going to sound awfully silly, but... Well, is there someone else?
Someone else?
A woman.
Oh, no, Sue, nothing like that. Darling, how could you ever think that?
I didn't really.
Sue, there'll never be anyone in my life but you. Never.
Dave, darling.
But you're right. There is something on my mind. It is serious. I'm in trouble, Sue.
Dave, you haven't done anything again?
No, nothing like that. It's just... Well, it's the old routine again. The old gang won't leave me alone.
Someone found out the old crowd?
Yes, Tommy Prentice. I ran into him on the street one day. He found out I changed my name. He found out everything.
What's he going to do?
He wants money.
Then give it to him. Give him all we have. It'll be finished.
No, it's not as simple as that. He wouldn't stop there.
But if we didn't have any more money
he says he just wants me to help him get away, but he'll probably force me to work on a job with him before he gets through.
No, Dave, you can't do that.
I haven't any choice, Sue.
Yes, you have. We'll go away, Dave, far away. They'll never find us.
Tommy would find us. So might somebody else in the old gang. Then we'd have to run again. No, Sue, I can't run anymore. I started to the other day. I was going to take a plane and send for you later. That's where I was when you called the office. But it's no use.
Please, Dave, we'll leave tonight. Right now.
I tell you, it's no use.
You know what'll happen if we don't, Dave. One job with Tommy, and then there'll be another and another. Some night I'll be called down to the morgue to identify.
Sue, darling.
You mustn't ever go back, Dave. You can't go back.
But running away, it's just no good. It wouldn't work.
It's our best chance, darling. Going somewhere else. What else can we do?
What else?
Yes. How else can you be rid of this man?
There is a way. I thought it all out. A very simple way.
What? Oh, no. No, Dave, you couldn't do anything like that. You couldn't.
No, I guess not. I guess I couldn't kill him. Even if I could get away with it. All right, sure. We'll run again.
She's right, isn't she, Dave? There is a chance, a slim chance, you can slip away from Tommy Prentice. Start life all over again in some small town. While you finish packing, Sue hurries down to the garage and drives your car around to the alley back of your apartment house. When she returns, you're ready. You pick up the suitcases and start for the door.
Oh, hiya, Sue, Dave. I was just going to knock. Come on over. We're having a little party.
Brad, hello.
Yeah.
We were just leaving. We're driving to Carmel.
Yeah.
We want to make it before midnight.
Well, Dave, oh, boy, you've got lots of time. Now, come on, just one drink for the road.
Brad, a rain check. It's terribly important that we leave right now.
We can't explain now, Brad. We'll be back in a few days. Come on, Sue. Get in the car, Sue. I'll put the suitcase in the...
Hello, Dave.
Tommy.
Evening, Mrs. Leonard. I'm sure you are, Mrs. Leonard. You folks going someplace?
Yes, we,
Running out on an old pal?
Oh, no. You see, my boss called up, and he wants me to go upstate, business.
Is that so?
Yeah.
So you're going on a little trip, huh?
Well, only for a few days. I'll be back in the middle of the week.
Yeah, get in touch with me?
That's right. As soon as I get back.
I'm going with you, pal.
Well, but Tommy...
I said I'm going with you. Now get in, both of you. We'll drive by my place and pick up my stuff. Then we'll head north over the Gate Bridge, huh? That bridge stunt you thought of was a great idea.
It's no use, Dave. You'll never be able to run away from Tommy Prentice. You're certain of that now. As you drive across town, you glance over at Sue from time to time, sitting next to you, staring straight ahead, her face tense. You know she's struggling to hold back a flood of tears. The anger, the hatred within you grows. Hatred for the man in the back seat of your car, and hatred towards yourself for what you've done to Sue. Finally, you bring the car to a stop in front of Tommy's boarding house.
Okay, folks, I'll get my stuff. Be right out. You'll wait, huh?
Yeah, we'll wait.
Just make sure you do. Hand over the car keys.
I said we'd wait.
I said the keys.
All right. Here.
Thanks, pal. Be right back, folks.
Look, Sue. Why don't you go back to the apartment? I'll handle this alone.
No, Dave, I'm not going to leave you.
Sue, I don't want you to get mixed up in this. Now, forget it. Forget me. Go back to the apartment.
I won't, Dave. I can't leave you. Come on, darling. Let's get away from here.
Sue.
I mean it, Dave. Right now. We can walk, talk it out, and decide what to do. Let him have the car, please, darling.
All right, Sue. Maybe a walk will help.
You wander along the street. Sue clings tightly to your arm. And somehow the two of you talk it out, don't you, Dave? Yes, you walk for hours trying to make up your mind. And finally, quite late, you begin to come to a decision.
We'll go to the police, Dave. Have Tommy Prentice arrested. Let your past come out. It's the only right way out of this.
There's more to it than that, dear. Even if I went to the police and they got Tommy, he'd find a way to let Duke and Frankie know who I am and where I live. But I'm here. They think I know too much. And what's more important, they figured I told you too much. You realize what that means, don't you?
Yes. But I'd prefer to take a chance on anything than have you on the wrong side of the law.
You'd risk being killed?
Yes. Rather than have you with everything we've built together.
You're wonderful, Sue.
Not wonderful. I just believe in you. Come on, darling. We'll go to the police. Tell them everything.
All right, Sue. All right, let's find a police station.
this is Alfred Hotchkiss speaking, and I've just discovered the identity of the patron saint of radio and television performers. He was the Reverend W.A. Spooner of England. This good gentleman was the Dean of New College, Oxford, during the latter part of the 19th century. And when he delivered a lecture on campus, it was generally well attended. Why? Because when the Reverend Mr. Spooner became excited over what he was saying, he generally twisted his words quite badly. A phrase like the conquering kings would come out the kinkering Kongs. The poets Keats, Byron, and Shelley might be referred to by Dean Spooner as Beats, Siren, and Kelly. Students eagerly attended his lectures, waiting for the next faux pas. Soon they began referring to their mentor's word scramblings as Spoonerisms. And to this day, the name has stuck. The kind of blooper in which some key syllables wind up where they don't belong is still known as a Spoonerism.
You've made your decision, haven't you, Dave? Yes, you can't run from the past, from Tommy Prentice. And you can't kill him either. So you're going to the police. You're going to tell them everything. Tell them about your fake suicide in New York 7 years ago. That you're not David Leonard, but an ex-convict named Marvin Knowles. You're certain it will mean the end of everything for you and your wife, Sue. But you've made up your mind there's nothing else you can do. And now, after hours of walking along the city streets and talking things out, the two of you step into a police station and approach the officer at the desk.
Sergeant? Oh, what can I do for you, sir?
My name is David Leonard. That is, since I arrived in
Leonard?
San Francisco...
Leonard? Oh, yes, David Leonard. Yeah. Got the report right here. Stolen car. I hope you had that insured, Mr. Leonard.
What?
It's pretty badly smashed up, I'm afraid.
Well, I don't understand.
Well, it happens there was quite a gun battle over in the Mission District. A couple of strong-arm boys tried to kill a man by the name of Tommy Prentice, who was driving your car.
Dave.
I guess he must have stolen it. Anyway, he wrecked the car trying to get away from those strong-arm boys.
Did they get away?
No, we caught him. Block away from the shooting. A couple of hoods from back east. Frankie Dawson and Duke Watson.
What about the man that stole my car? Prentice.
Prentice? Died on the way to the emergency hospital.
Prentice is dead?
Yes, ma'am. And your husband's car is a wreck. I'm awful sorry.
Oh, it's all right. We don't mind the car.
No, we can always get another car.
The funny thing about those guys trying to kill Prentice, they didn't know he was going to commit suicide anyway. They'd have avoided a murder rap if they had.
Suicide?
Yeah. Had a note in his pocket. Figured on jumping off the bridge. Said he was tired of running from those hoods.
Featured in tonight's story were Bill Foreman as the Whistler, David Ellis, Virginia Gregg, Bill Conrad, and Larry Dobkin. The Whistler was produced and directed by George W. Allen, with story by Joel Malone, music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. The Whistler was entirely fictional, and all characters portrayed on The Whistler are also fictional.
This is Orson Welles, speaking from London. Black Museum, a repository of death, a repertorium of violence. Here in the grim stone structure on the Thames which houses Scotland Yard is a warehouse of homicide, where everyday objects, a teacup and its saucer, a lady's parasol, a surveyor's chain, all are touched by murder. You take this mallet. It's a familiar object, a wooden mallet, worn, got a wooden head, marked, neck all its uses. Maybe you have one in the cellar, in the forgotten tool chest at the bottom of your closet, in the toolbox of your car. But I doubt if you would care to own this one.
Hello. Here's something, Constable. Just an old mallet, Sergeant. Yes, notice the grease on it. And these. They look a bit like hair, don't they? Human hair.
Well, anyway, today, the mallet can be seen in a very special place of honor in the Black Museum.
From the annals of the Criminal Investigation Department of the London Police, we bring you the dramatic stories of the crimes recorded by the objects in Scotland Yard's Gallery of Death, the Black Museum.
Well, here we are, the Black Museum. Scotland Yard's very special, very particular museum of murder. Here lies death. Row on row of cabinets. And in the cabinets, each in its place, each with its simple white card detailing victim and killer, time and place. The weapons, many of which you couldn't conceive as weapons, line these stone walls. Now here for instance, this is a woman's handkerchief, a bit of lace at the edges, crumpled, yellowish with age, yet stuffed as a gag in its owner's throat. It stifles screams, this handkerchief, and the sound of death. Here, a length of heavy chain. Once this chain enclosed a rich man's driveway. It was wrapped around his legs another time. It weighted his body in his private lake until the grappling hooks took hold. And here we are. The mallet. Little white card says, in part, Guy Fawkes Day, bonfire night. Guy Fawkes Day, it's November 5th. It's an old English tradition, you know. The celebration of Mr. Fawkes's attempt to blow up the House of Commons. The English House of Congress, almost 350 years ago. Every November 5th, bonfires of all sizes are to be found on the English countryside as part of this celebration. That's why, you see, no particular attention was paid to a particular bonfire near a highway in Northampton one November 5th. Although one fellow did comment.
Quite a blaze, that one, eh, Davy?
Yeah, flames the street 15, 20 feet. Silly to build a fire that big way out of here.
Well, maybe the fellas wanted London to see it, eh?
Well, every man to his own idea, I always say.
You see, no particular attention for that moment. Now listen a moment. Yes, a man running up the road, past the two fellas trudging home.
Hey, mister, anyone at that bonfire?
Didn't look in a hurry. Getting on to town.
Yeah, I say, he's traveling. Think he's going to catch a train here about this time of night. Might as well save his breath and walk.
Too bad if you'd been walking. If Marty and Davy hadn't been on the road just then, the fire hadn't been quite so spectacular, even for Guy Fawkes' bonfire night. However, the ifs don't count. Davy was a touch curious about that bonfire now, as he and his friend came almost abreast of the blaze.
Mighty big fire. Think we ought to take a look, Marty?
Oh, I'm tired. Fella said there wasn't nobody over there.
He didn't. Said he didn't look. Well, I'm going to. Those spots get into the trees, we can have trouble, the wind and all.
Oh, all right. Have it your own way. Yeah, blimey. You can feel the heat right over here.
Here, that's no bonfire. It's a car burning. Here, we got to get help. This will make trouble. Come on.
The two men dashed for town in the wake of the man who passed them, and there in the village, they found the local police constable. Quickly, they gathered tools left over from the day's bombing and buckets, stirrup pumps, and raced back to the fire in the constable's old car. They didn't really talk at the scene. In a matter of minutes, the blaze was under control. A few minutes more, and they could get close enough to see into the car, or see into what was left of it.
Not too close, men. There's a lot of heat there.
Here, Constable, point that flashlight over there.
Where?
To the right. No, more to the right. The front seat. Looks like a bundle of rags.
Oh, that's no bundle. That's what's left of a man.
Charred, blackened, a twisted heap, but still recognizable as the body of a man. When the first shock was past, the local police constable ordered the men to stand watch while he telephoned. Before dawn, the experts were on the job.
All right, Sergeant. What have we got so far?
Number of the car, sir, MU2489. Some fragments of the clothing, garter buckles, belt buckles. A few pieces of cloth. That's about all, Inspector.
Yeah, not much to go on. Oh, well, maybe pathology will give us something. Meanwhile, trace the registration, find the owner, search the area around here carefully. Routine, Sergeant. Let me know.
Yes, sir. The usual.
Now then, you two.
Yes, sir?
Aye, sir. About this fellow who passed you running away from here. What did he look like?
Well, it was pretty dark last night, sir.
Well, he had no hat on.
Yes, sir. Monty's right. No hat, but a top coat and a briefcase.
I see. Anything else? Notice his hair? Well, it was dark. It seemed like a lot of it, sort of a round face.
You couldn't see his eyes or anything like that.
How old do you think he was?
Well, he was running pretty fast, like.
Well, nobody over 35 could run like that with a coat on and all. Unless he's been an athlete, of course. Oh, well, no matter about that. Anything else you remember about him?
Not me, sir.
Here, Inspector, do you think he had something to do with this? We're not ready to think yet. First, the facts have to be gathered. We'll get out this fellow's description. He may recognize himself and offer to help. Meanwhile, we'll find the owner of the car. A great deal of...
The fellow didn't offer any help. All the newspapers carried his description, but there were no results. The number of the car did bring results, however, and the person of a youngish woman who gave her name as...
Nora Williams. It was my husband's car. He works as a salesman for a firm in Northampton. He's on the road a lot. He set out this time on the 4th.
There's no use your viewing the remains, Mrs. Williams, but perhaps you can identify these.
What are they?
Garter buckles, a belt buckle.
Oh, that's all that was left?
Are they familiar to you, Mrs. Williams?
No, not at all. My husband never wears a belt, only braces.
I see. Mrs. Williams, was your husband on his way to his firm, the home office, so to speak?
I don't know.
Oh, he didn't say?
No, and I called the firm. They said they didn't expect him until next week.
Williams, Robert Williams, owner of the burned car. He never wore a belt. His firm didn't expect him for a week. Interesting. Maybe not quite as interesting as the little scene in progress under the wreck of the burned car.
Hello. Here's something, Constable.
Just an old mallet, Sergeant.
Yes, notice the grease on it? And these. They look a bit like hair, don't they? Human hair. There it is, Inspector. Found it about 10 yards from the wreckage.
Oh, just an old mallet?
No weathering of the paint.
Grease, bits of hair. How far was it from the petrol tin?
Just a few feet. Another few steps away, that scorched area began.
Oh, the main area, or that sort of trail we found burned through the weeds?
The trail, sir.
You're reconstructing something, Sergeant. Let's have it.
Well, sir, suppose that someone hit Williams with the mallet and drove the car off the road. Then threw some petrol from the tin on the car and laid a kind of trail of it until the tin was empty.
Yes.
This party might have tossed away the mallet, dropped the tin, and thrown a lighted match onto the gasoline. It's possible, Inspector.
You may be closer than you think. Pathology reports that the man who died had been drinking heavily, and that the bits of cloth we found had been soaked in petrol.
Soaked in it, sir? And not burned?
The cloth came from the armpits of the dead man's jacket.
Soaked to the armpits in petrol. Whoever wanted Williams out of the way was thorough, to say the least.
Yes, but we don't know yet, Sergeant, if the corpus delicti is Williams. All we know is that Williams is missing, and his burning motor car contained a corpse.
Yes, sir. But if the body isn't Williams, then our missing man...
Maybe Williams, and maybe a murderer. Well, we'll see.
There wasn't much to see. No Williams, no identity for the corpse, just a few bits of blackened metal, funny-looking mallets, a patrol tin, a bit of scorched earth, a pathologist's report, but no Williams. That was all. And then, quite suddenly, there was a plethora of Williams.
My name is May Williams. I haven't heard from my husband for 3 days. It's not like Robert. We were married in May. He wanted it then because my first name is May.
I'm Dorothy Williams. I married Robert Williams 2 years ago. Our home's in Brixton. I have a little boy, Robert Jr., of course.
I left the hospital to come here, Sergeant. Our son was born just 2 weeks ago. He's our second child. Robert and I have been married 3 years. He was at the hospital on Guy Fawkes Day just before he left on his trip. I can hear him saying, "Now, Elizabeth, don't you worry. I'll be back in 5 days."
I interviewed Mrs. Williams myself, Sergeant. Her first name is Nora.
I know it seems incredible, Inspector, so I checked the records first. Every one of these women is married to a Robert Williams, and every one of them says the license number of his car was MU2489.
4 of them. London, Brixton, Greenwich, and Bournemouth. And 3 children. What have we here, Sergeant? Motive for murder or suicide?
And that mallet can be found today in an honored position in the Black Museum. Inspector Lorch and Sergeant Broughton found themselves of a common, if curious, state of mind. There was the very human and male tendency towards some small admiration for a man who could keep 4 wives reasonably happy. And most men have their difficulties with one. And there was the very stern necessity of finding this Robert Williams, who disappeared apparently into thin air, or who'd been burned to death on bonfire night in a blazing automobile. However, Inspector Lorch and Sergeant Broughton had something to work with now. They had 3 wives. The first one to be questioned was Dorothy Brixton.
What can you tell me of his usual route in his business, Mrs. Williams?
Nothing much, Inspector. Robert never talked business much at home.
Oh, what then, Mrs. Williams?
What then? Oh, and what did he talk about?
That's right.
Oh, pleasant things, the cinema, football matches. He was a great one on sports. And after a while, he liked to talk about the baby. Bob is only 6 months old, you see.
Yes. Was there any regular time he was at home, like the 1st and 3rd weeks of the month, for instance?
No, sir. He'd be at home when he could. It was a bit difficult at first, getting used to that, but I managed. And he's so regular with the household money. Every Monday morning in the mail if he isn't at home.
By cheque, Mrs. Williams?
No, sir. By money order. Or in cash, sir.
Have you cashed in the last money order? Would you know where it was drawn?
No, I can't say, sir. I never took notice of that. Oh, Inspector?
Nothing much there. Nothing much except a picture of a quiet, rather shallow fellow interested in sports. It was Sergeant Broughton who took on May Williams. May Williams. She's young and quite pretty and very frightened.
To you, Mrs. Williams, 3 days is a long time.
Like 3 years, almost. He wrote me every night he was away. Now... Oh, Sergeant, that wasn't my Robert in that car, was it?
We don't know. Not yet, anyway. Suppose it wasn't. Suppose your husband has just disappeared.
Oh, he'd never do that. Robert's a wonderful man. Athletic, thick dark hair and a round face, almost like a boy's.
That much tallies with the man on the road, at any rate. We hope we can help you find your husband, Mrs. Williams.
Elizabeth Williams is no fool, and a newborn baby can be quite a problem when your only means of economic support has disappeared.
You see, Inspector, he told me this trip was taking him to Kent, and now the car's turned up in Northampton. Well, you can see why I'm so worried.
And under those circumstances, of course.
I never questioned Robert very much about his trips. I guess I was too glad to see him home. And he never stayed long enough to wear out his welcome. Ours wasn't a slippers and pipe kind of existence.
And do you have many friends in your neighborhood there in Bournemouth?
I do. Robert never cared to go out much.
I see. Well, for a man of about 35, that doesn't seem, well, too normal.
We liked each other's company, and there isn't very much money. So when Evelyn was born, we let ourselves get tied down. Now that Gerald's here, well, even more so.
And you say he was at the hospital on Guy Fawkes Day?
Yes, he brought flowers. Oh, I told him he shouldn't spend money on frippery like that, but it was sweet, and yes, he did say something about tomorrow will have to take care of itself.
Of course, not one word to any of the four women about the others. This was a matter for the inspector and the sergeant to keep strictly to themselves for a while at least. But beyond this, nothing. No sign of Robert Williams. Routine, if thorough, checks were made of the four areas where the four women lived.
Inspector Lodge here.
Call for you, sir. Mr. Thomas Brickwell from Faringham.
Oh, I don't know any Brickwell.
He says he wants the inspector in charge of the Williams case.
Oh, does he? All right, put him through, Sergeant. I'll speak to Mr. Brickwell.
Yes, sir.
Inspector Lodge speaking.
My name is Brickwell. I own a dry goods shop in Faringham, 215 Harley Road.
Go on, Mr. Brickwell.
I'm fed up with this Williams fellow. Think it's high time you police did something about it.
Well, we hope to, sir. Quite soon.
Then why don't you pick him up today?
Have you any idea where he may be?
He's on the 10:30 bus for Bournemouth.
What?
Left my house just a while ago. As far as my daughter Mary is concerned, I'd be just as pleased if she never saw him again.
Is he your son-in-law, Mr. Brickwell?
Not yet. And never, if Mary will listen to me. I don't like the whole thing, Inspector. Turns up without his car, then the car is reported burned up, and Williams won't go to the police. Mumbles something about not wanting to be involved. It's a funny business, and I'm interested in protecting my daughter.
Well, you've been most helpful, Mr. Brickwell. We'll be in touch with you shortly. Good day, sir.
Good day, Inspector.
Yes, sir?
Sergeant, our man is on the bus that left Faringham for Bournemouth at 10:30. Check its first stop and pick him up. It looks as if he left his latest conquest to visit his latest offspring.
I beg your pardon, sir. Is your name Williams? Robert Williams?
Yes, it is. What can I do for you?
I'm from the CID, sir. I hope you don't mind coming along. Inspector Lorch would appreciate a word with you.
May I see your identification?
Of course. Here you are.
I see you. Very well, Sergeant. You know, it's a little strange. Actually, I was on my way to see you.
Well, that was his story. And he stayed with it all the way. He was on his way to the yard to tell his story. And it was quite a story.
Let's have that again, Mr. Williams.
I picked up this hitchhiker, you see, just below Northampton. He had a bottle and began to drink rather steadily.
See?
I was just about on the verge of asking him to leave the car when the engine began to cough. I was getting out of petrol, so I pulled over to the side of the road and off. My passenger seemed to be asleep. I took the petrol tin from the back, the one I keep for such emergencies, you see, and just as I started for the road, the man called out.
Oh, he wasn't asleep then?
Apparently not. Did I have a smoke on me, he wanted to know. I tossed him a cigar. Never smoke myself, but just keep them for the customers. You know how that is.
Yes, of course. Go on, Mr. Williams.
Well, I started for the road again. Suddenly I heard a kind of whoosh behind me. I looked, and my car was a sheet of flame. My passenger was in the middle of it. I must have panicked. The next thing I knew, I was running up the road.
And that's all you remember?
That's all.
Anything you want to ask him, Sergeant?
Yes, sir. Mr. Williams, you took your briefcase with you when you went for petrol?
I was afraid my passenger might steal it. He had his hand on it several times earlier.
You don't wear hats, Mr. Williams?
Well, I must have lost it. When I realized I was running away, I realized, too, that I had no hat. I bought a new one.
How about trouser belts, sir?
No, only braces.
That's all. Thank you, Inspector.
Now, tell us, if you will, Mr. Williams, why you never came forward until we found you.
Oh, that. Well, I guess you'd better know. You'll find out anyway. Women. Too many of them.
You are married, aren't you?
To one of them. Nora. A loyal girl. No questions asked. Wonderful woman.
Yes, she is. We've talked to her. In fact, she's on her way here now.
You won't mention what I told you, gentlemen, about the others? Between us men, that is.
Yes, we'll respect your confidence, Mr. Williams, as far as the law allows. Mr. Williams, did you have a mallet in the toolbox of your car?
Yes. Yes, I did. I used it for pounding dents out of fenders.
Did you take it out when you stopped along the road on bonfire night?
Oh, come to think of it, I did. The cap of the petrol tin seemed stuck, and I think I used it to loosen the cap.
And then?
Well, I must have dropped it near the car.
Yes, you must have. Well, that'll do for now. If you'd care to wait for your wife, Nora, you can wait in the next room.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I'll do just that. This way, Mr. Williams. Well, thank you, Sergeant. Thank you very much.
Well, sir? 4 women. Not too much money. You pick up a tramp no one will ever miss, get him drunk, burn your car and the tramp, let the world think you died in your own car, and start over. Seems so simple. It's really quite complicated. And where there are complications, there are always discrepancies. Aren't there, Sergeant?
Discrepancies. Yes, several. Did you notice them? I took the business of the mallet, the 3 extra wires, the disposal of the petrol tin, holes, big ones. And of all people, it was Nora Williams who supplied the next one.
If I may, Inspector, I'd like to have my husband's wallet returned now.
Oh, is there something in it he particularly wants?
Yes, some of the money. He's out of tobacco and wants to buy some cigars.
Oh.
I never saw such a man for smoking. Pipes, cigars, cigarettes. He certainly loves tobacco.
Next one. And if Robert Williams lied on that score, in how many other instances?
We found the petrol tin 15 yards from the wreck. How did it get there, Mr. Williams?
I must have carried it there and dropped it or something. Our pathologist states positively that the hairs caught on the mallet are human hairs. How do you account for that, Mr. Williams? How should I know? Maybe somebody got hit with it somewhere, sometime. How should I know?
You said you don't smoke. And then your wife asked for your money to buy tobacco. Why did you lie, Williams?
What's she trying to do? Frame me?
I suggest, Williams, that you had petrol in that tin all the time. That you poured it over that vagrant after you knocked him unconscious with a mallet. That you laid a trail to the car and set fire to it yourself.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. What for? Why should I do a thing like that?
We have that answer, Williams. All 4 answers. In London, Brixton, Greenwich and Bournemouth. And a possible 5th in Farringham. Your story doesn't wash, Williams. We're charging you with willful murder. And I warn you that anything you say will be taken down in writing and may be used in evidence. Now, about this mallet.
And that mallet can be found today if you look for it. In an honored place. In the Black Museum. No one actually saw the crime committed by Robert Williams, did they? But the circumstances were clear, and certainly Williams's life was the life of a rascal, to say the least. However, it may interest you to know that the day following Williams's execution, a London newspaper published a last-minute interview with a prisoner in which he confessed the crime, admitted the details as Inspector Lorch had deduced them, and revealed for the first time that the man he killed was entirely unknown to him, a vagrant whom he'd picked up in his car once or twice before. To the extent that Williams paid with his life, justice was served. Of the 4 women who'd been his dupes, nothing is known except that they picked up the pieces of their lives as well as they could. And the mallet, our exhibit, can be found in its customary place in Scotland Yard, in the Black Museum.
And now, until next time, till we meet again in the same place, and I tell you another story of the Black Museum, I remain as always, obediently yours.
traveler. This is the Mysterious Traveler, inviting you to join me on another journey into the realm of the strange and the terrifying. I hope you will enjoy the trip, that it will thrill you a little and chill you a little. So settle back, get a good grip on your nerves, and be comfortable, if you can. Where are we going? Today we're going to delve into the strange story of a Chinese bell. A bell whose ringing is a summons for the dead to live and the living to die. As you shall see in the story I call Death is the Judge. Our story begins in a small curio shop in New York's Chinatown. Dr. John Williams, one of the finest brain surgeons in the Middle West, and his wife are celebrating their 20th wedding anniversary by a trip to New York. They've stopped in at this curio shop for sentimental reasons, just as they did on their honeymoon 20 years before.
Oh, John, it's the same. It's exactly the same as it was. Doesn't look as though a thing had been sold since we were in here last.
It certainly doesn't. If it wasn't that old Ki Wong is dead now, I'd be tempted to believe we'd gone back 20 years when we came through the door.
Even the smell of incense and ginger's the same. We must buy something, John, even if it's only a trinket, just for sentiment's sake.
If you want a trinket, how about this statue of Buddha here, huh? It only weighs about 3 tons.
Oh, silly. But what about one of these bells, John? We need a dinner bell. How would this one do?
That would be better for a temple gong, darling. Better try again.
All right, John. Oh, I have it. This lovely little bell of rose crystal. Why, it's the exact color of that rose crystal pendant old Ki Wong sold us on our honeymoon.
The lady has found something that pleases her?
Yes, this crystal bell. How much is it? And please don't make the price too high.
The price is not high, but the lady would not want it.
But I do want it. Why should you think I wouldn't?
Once it was a most unlucky bell. Now it is broken. My honored father, Ki Wong, broke it to break the evil fortune that followed it.
Broken? Where? Looks all right to me.
It is broken because it will not ring. The clapper is gone. That's right, Mary. The clapper is missing.
But I could easily have a new clapper made.
It is not possible. Only the clapper carved when this bell was carved out of the same block of rose crystal will make this bell ring.
But that's ridiculous. I never heard of such a thing.
Oh, we can test it easily enough. Suppose I tap it with this silver pencil. That ought to make it ring. I am happy to have you try. That's odd. It won't make anything but that dead sound.
I'll bet I could make it ring.
You're welcome to try, my
No,
dear.
I don't mean now. I mean once I got it home.
When my honored father took out the clapper, he meant that this bell should never ring again. And it never will. But why, Sankey? Because bell was stolen, and so carried evil fortune with it. And because it is a bell of life. It came from a temple in Tibet. Only lamas were permitted to lay hands on it. But obviously someone else did. That is why it is unlucky. When my father received it 20 years ago, he took out the clapper and disposed of it. I do not know where or to whom.
But why? Just what was he afraid of?
He dare not risk having this bell ring, for it belonged to the High Lama of a tribe that believed the ringing of this bell will bring the dead back to life. You mean this bell? Yes. You look skeptical, but it is true. When someone died whose life was too precious to spare, this sacred bell was rung beside his body, and death let go his hold. The dead return to life.
You mean you really believe that?
It is true, but I have not told the whole story. This carving here upon the bell, it is Tibetan. It says, "Who rings this bell cheats death, but death will not be cheated.
A little cryptic, I'd say.
It means that when the bell is used to rescue someone from death, another whose span of life is not yet over is taken by death instead.
You mean that the Grim Reaper keeps his quota filled, even if he has to take somebody who's not on his list?
It is so, Doctor.
John, you're talking as if you believe the whole thing. It's just nonsense, of course. But what a lovely topic for conversation it'll make. I just simply won't leave without this bell now.
But if it won't ring, what good is it?
I'll make it ring. Leave that to me.
If the lady wishes the bell, the price is $5.
Well, the lady wants it, so she'd better have it, I guess. Oh, I don't want to risk breaking it while we're traveling, though. Can you mail it to our home address?
Of course.
The name is Dr. John Williams, 1766.
And so, a week later, shortly after Dr. Williams and his wife had returned home, a small package reached them. As he unwrapped it, Dr. Williams' curiosity was stirred again, and in his study he tried once more to make the strange bell of rose crystal ring.
Curious. It really won't ring, no matter what I tap it with.
Hello, John.
Oh, hello, Mary.
You're home from the hospital early, dear.
Yes, I felt a little tired today. But look what just came in the mail.
Oh, why, it's my crystal bell. Oh, John, it's lovely. It's even more beautiful than I remembered it.
Yes, but I'm afraid Sam Key was telling the truth when he said only the original clapper will make it ring. I've tried everything I can think of.
The trouble with men, darling, is that they're not logical.
What do you mean?
Well, if the ball is of rose crystal, a rose crystal clapper should make it ring, shouldn't it?
The logic is perfect, but how can we test it?
By using my rose crystal pendant, of course. I'm wearing it this afternoon so we can try it out right away. Here, see?
Now what?
You hold the bell, and I'll tap it with the pendant.
All right, tap away, but I bet it doesn't ring.
You'll see. Now listen. There. What'd I tell you?
It did ring.
Of course it did. I was sure it would, even if Sam Key's story was true. John, don't you see?
Don't I see what?
Well, my crystal pendant is the bell's missing clapper.
The missing clapper?
Mm-hmm.
Good heavens, I almost believe you're right.
Well, I am right. As soon as Sam Key told us how his father took the clapper out of the bell and sold it 20 years ago, well, I was positive he'd made it into the pendant that he sold us 20 years ago.
It should be impossible, but it certainly looks as if it must be true.
After all these years, the bell and the clapper have come back together again. You know, I knew there was something queer about that bell the minute I saw it. Queerest feeling came over me that I just must have it.
I'm not sure that I like that thought, Mary.
Silly. I know you half believe that story Sam Key told us. But I didn't. Now, I have my bell complete. Now, all I have to do is unfasten the pendant and attach it to the bell again.
But, Mary...
Help me do it, John. Look, the pendant's loose. It'll come off the chain if I twist it. Yes. Here it is.
Mary, are you sure this is wise?
Now, if I tie it inside the bell with this thread... Darling, please hold it so I can see what I'm doing. There. Now it's as good as new again. Listen.
Mary,
John, what is it?
I don't know. I don't feel well.
Oh, you're tired, darling. Now, please sit down. Sit down here.
I will. I feel better now. It was just a moment's dizziness.
You're working too hard at the hospital. That's what's the trouble.
Well, maybe. I admit I had a strenuous day. I spent 2 hours on a brain operation. Splendid boy. He looked a lot like our David. But he'll be good for another 50 years now, with luck.
Just the same. You may take it easier, John. Now, you sit still here while I fix you some spirits of ammonia, and then...
Well, that's probably for me.
Now, you sit still. I'll answer. Hello? Yes, Dr. Williams is here. Who's calling, please? The hospital? Oh. Yes, I'll tell him. Goodbye.
Mary, what's happened at the hospital?
It's an emergency case, John. Another brain operation. And, oh, darling, you are so tired.
Can't be helped. I'm the only brain surgeon in town these days. Help me get into my coat, will you? Where's my hat?
Oh, here you are, dear.
Thanks.
Now, let me straighten your tie.
All right.
There, you're ready. I'm going to drive you over, and you can relax until we get there.
All right, then, but let's get going. The almost 5 miles to the hospital. Nurse, another sponge, please.
Here, Doctor.
Dr. Williams, the pulse is very faint. The breathing has become dangerously weak.
I'll have to try adrenaline. The hypodermic, nurse.
Yes, Doctor. I'll get it ready.
The patient has stopped breathing, Doctor. And there's no pulse.
Quick with that adrenaline. You've got to get the pulse started again.
Here, Doctor.
Good. Yeah. That ought to start the heart action again.
There's still no pulse, Doctor.
We'll try artificial respiration.
Yes, Doctor.
Oxygen, nurse, quickly. Keep the pressure steady, nurse. Johnson, any pulse yet?
Not yet, Doctor. The adrenaline doesn't seem to have taken effect.
Well, it must. Nurse, give him more oxygen. I'm going to continue the artificial respiration as long as there's a single chance.
I'm afraid it's no use, Doctor. No sign of a pulse at all.
Dr. Williams, please rest now. You've done everything that anyone could. But he hasn't shown a sign of life, not for half an hour.
Yes, I'm afraid we're beaten.
If anyone could have saved him, you'd have done it. But death had, well, too strong a grip on him for anyone to bring him back.
Too strong a grip. Yes, I do rather feel as if I'd been wrestling with someone for this poor fellow's life. And lost.
Well, Doctor, don't feel too badly. In room 8, there's a boy who has a full life ahead of him, thanks to you.
I suppose I have to look at it that way. Well, help me off with these things, will you, nurse?
Of course, Doctor.
There's the gloves and the jacket. Now, what did I do with my coat? I just threw it down somewhere when I arrived here. I was in such a hurry.
I've got it, Doctor. Let me help you.
Oh, thanks, Johnson. What the deuce have I got in this pocket? That bell. I must have jammed it into my coat without thinking in the rush to get here. Oh, look out. Catch it.
Oh, I have it. Ooh, that was close. Might have smashed on the floor. Here you are, Doctor.
Thanks. I almost wish it had broken, though. For some reason, I hate the sound of it. But my wife...
Dr. Williams?
Yes, nurse?
The patient. The color's coming back in his face, and I can feel a pulse now.
What? Now, let me see. Yes, you're right. His heart's beating again.
Look, he's beginning to breathe.
Quick, start the oxygen again. I'm going to give him an injection of plasma. Make the preparation, please, Johnson.
Yes, Dr. Williams.
How is the pulse now, nurse?
It's getting stronger, Doctor.
His respiration is gaining, too.
Yes, Doctor. What? I've never seen anything like it.
It's almost a miracle. Now, where's that plasma?
Here, Doctor. I have everything ready.
Good. Nurse, disinfect the arm, please.
Right away, Dr. Williams. Oh, here comes Dr. Bronson.
How's it going, Williams? Been having trouble?
Oh, hello, Bronson. Yes, a little trouble, but I think we're in the clear now. For a while, I thought the patient was gone, but now he's going to pull through, I'm sure of it.
Good. Doctor, I'm afraid I have bad news for you about your other patient, though.
What do you mean?
The boy in room 8. The one you operated on this afternoon.
Yeah?
He died suddenly just a couple of minutes ago. Just went like that for no reason at all.
Dr. Williams' second patient, who had come back seemingly from death itself, did live. But when the operation was over and Dr. Williams was driving back to his home with his wife, he was strangely silent and preoccupied, so that when his wife spoke to him, he did not seem to hear her.
Don't you want me to drive, John? John, I'm speaking to you.
Oh, what, Mary?
I said, don't you want me to drive?
Oh, no, thanks, Mary. I'm perfectly all right. It's just that I was thinking.
About that operation? Yes, the nurse told me about it. It was wonderful that you saved him.
That's just it. I didn't save him. He was dead. Dead, do you hear? Then for no reason whatever, he came back to life.
But you injected adrenaline and...
I injected adrenaline half an hour before he showed signs of life. Then he revived. For no apparent reason whatever.
Well, perhaps the adrenaline took a delayed effect.
Perhaps. But there was no more reason for it than there was for the boy in room 8 to die suddenly as he did.
But you've said yourself, John, that in medicine, nothing is ever absolutely certain.
That's true, but just the same, that boy's sudden death bothers me. I want to know why he died.
Well, an autopsy would tell you, wouldn't it?
An autopsy? Yes. Mary, I'm going to turn around and go back to the hospital right now. I'm going to perform that autopsy myself.
But, John, you mustn't turn here. There's too much traffic here.
There's nothing coming now. I'll just swing around.
John, look out! That car coming around the turn! Look out!
Stand back, all of you. Come on, get back.
Now, lady, drink this. It'll make you feel better.
Thank you, officer.
You were in an accident and knocked out for a couple of minutes. But you're coming around all right. Just drink this and lie quiet.
An accident? Yes. My husband, where is he?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Oh, he's hurt. Where is he? I must go to him.
He's right here, ma'am. When I come along on my motorcycle after it happened, I pulled you both out. But he wasn't breathing.
John. John, speak to me.
It's no use, ma'am. I'm afraid he's gone.
John. John.
Go on, get back, all of you. Get back, I say.
Now, ma'am, the ambulance will be here in a minute. If there's anything to be done, they'll do it.
There's nothing. I've been a doctor's wife long enough not to know death when I see it. Just let me sit here. Where I can see it.
I know how you feel, ma'am, and I hate to bother you. But if you could just tell me how it happened for my report. You see, the other driver says...
It wasn't my fault. I couldn't help it. He pulled right out in front of me. Didn't even signal.
Now, take it easy, mister. Or you'll make that bump on your head worse.
Officer, where's my bag? There's some smelling salts in it. I feel faint.
Well, here's your bag. I took care of it.
Thank you. I'll feel better in a minute.
And here's something that was in the bag, ma'am. Fell out, and I put it in my pocket. It's a bell. I'll put it in your bag if you like.
Mary.
Thank you so much.
Oh, Mary. Where are you?
John. John.
Was that a bell ringing? Seemed so loud and clear. Like an alarm waking me up. What's happened, Mary?
There was an accident, John. But you're all right. You're all right.
An accident? Are you hurt?
No, John, no. Please lie still.
He's trying to sit up. And only a moment ago, he was dead.
Gee, I'm glad he's okay, even though the accident wasn't my fault. Hey, mister, I'll give you a hand. Officer,
What's wrong? I told you to be careful. You got quite a bump on the head.
I feel so weak, so dizzy.
Oh, he's keeled over. Where are those smelling salts?
Here, let me look at him. I'm a doctor.
John, you shouldn't exert yourself.
Now, please, Mary.
How is he, Doc?
This man is dead.
Though Dr. Wilson protested that his injuries were not serious, he returned to the hospital where Dr. Bronson treated him, finding nothing wrong save a slight concussion. His wife took him home in a taxicab, promising to see that he stayed in bed for a day or two. That night, however, neither Dr. Williams nor his wife could sleep, though they remained awake for different reasons.
10, 11, 12.
Mary, is that you?
I was counting the strokes. It's midnight.
You should be asleep.
Can't go to sleep. Not until David gets home.
David? Where is he? The movie?
No, he came to me this afternoon and said there was a party at his fraternity tonight. He asked me if he could borrow the old car for the evening, and I let him have it. But he's not back yet, John. I can't help worrying. Especially after what happened to us.
Well, I'll give him a talking to in the morning. A boy of 17 isn't old enough to be out until all hours.
You ought to be asleep yourself, John. How's your head?
It's all right. Just throbs a little. All I had was a slight concussion.
John, are you sure?
Of course I am. Didn't you hear Bronson say so? What are you getting at?
The bell. The crystal bell.
Well, what about the bell?
Your first words were about hearing it ring like an alarm wakening you. And it had just rung.
Well, what of it? It rang, and I heard it as I was regaining consciousness.
But at the hospital, the bell rang in the operating room, and your patient came back to life. He heard the bell ring, too.
Don't be silly, Mary. My patient revived for natural reasons. As for me, I was just knocked out.
But both times, somebody else died, John. At the hospital, the boy in room 8. And after you returned, the driver in the other car died.
Pure coincidence. The boy probably had a blood clot on his heart. The driver had a fractured skull. It's a common occurrence for men with fractured skulls to keel over without even realizing they're hurt.
But Sam Key told us that when the bell rang, the dead would return to life. And someone living would die.
Stuff and nonsense, Mary. You've been a doctor's wife long enough to know that such thing isn't possible.
But, John,
No buts about it. It's impossible, do you hear?
Yes, John. Of course it's impossible. Oh, I do wish David would get home. I feel so uneasy about him.
He'll be home any minute now. He knows that he's supposed to...
Oh, it's the telephone.
Well, I'll answer.
No, let me.
No, stay in bed. I'll answer.
Oh, all right, John.
It'll only be a moment. Hello, Dr. Williams speaking. The police? What is it? What's happened? An accident. My son... Where is he? Is he badly hurt? The car turned over and burned. And my son? I see. The Rockford Village morgue. Yes, I'll come at once.
John, what was it?
Mary, I told you to stay in bed. It was just an emergency call.
It's David, isn't it? Yes, it is David. I can tell by your face. Where is he? What's happened to him?
He's been in an accident, Mary.
David is dead. Is that it, John?
Yes, Mary.
Take me to him. Oh, John, you got to take me to him.
This is the place, mister. The Rockford Village morgue. Cross the pavement, go down those steps, then along the walk to where you see that little light over the door. Thank you. Mary, you must wait in the cab for me.
I want to come with you.
No, you mustn't. Promise me you'll wait here.
I want to come with you. I want to see my son.
Not yet. Promise you'll wait for me.
Oh, all right, John. I'll wait.
Be careful of those steps, mister. They're pretty steep, and it's awful dark. I'll be careful. I'll only be 5 minutes or so, Mary. Here comes your husband back now, ma'am.
John. Oh, John. Was it David?
Please get back in the cab. Mary.
No, John, I must know. Was it David?
Yes, Mary, it was David.
Oh, I have to go to him.
Mary, stop.
No, let go of me. I'm going to David.
Mary, stop struggling. You can't go to
I
him.
must. I must.
Mary, don't you understand? You mustn't see him.
I'm going, John.
What have you got in your hand?
It's the bell, the crystal bell.
What are you doing with it? Here, give it to me.
No, I'm going to ring it.
Oh, give me that bell.
No, I won't. I'm going to ring it, I tell you. There, I've rung it. I've rung it. David! David, did you hear?
Mary, you're out of your mind.
I'm not. I know what I'm doing. David! Can you hear me?
Now, give me that bell. There. In heaven's name, what are you trying to do?
It brought back your patient. It brought you back. And it'll bring back my son.
Mary, come to your senses. It's just a bell.
It's not. I know it's not. You were dead. And I saw it bring you back to life.
You mustn't believe that. And even if the bell were more than a bell, don't you understand? The car turned over and burned. I had to identify David by his fraternity ring and the driver's license in his wallet.
I don't care. He's my son. David! David!
Mary, get into the cab.
I won't. Not until I have my son back. David!
Mary, won't you please?
Mother! Mother! John. Listen. David. Mother!
David.
Mother! Dad!
He was burned horribly. Mary.
Let go of me. He's my son, and I'm going to him. David! David!
Mary, come back. Mary, don't go down those steps to the morgue.
David! David!
Mary, come back. Come back.
Hey, mister, watch yourself. Look out for them steps.
Mary! Mary!
Mister, look out! Mister, are you hurt? Gosh, he fell all the way down the steps. Mister, are you all right? Here, let me help you.
Dad, here I am. I'm all right. I wasn't in the car at all. It was one of my fraternity brothers. I lent him my driver's license and... Dad, what is it? What's wrong?
He started this way and fell down these steps.
But why is he so still? Dad, speak to me.
John, speak to us. David's all right, dear. David's come back to us. He's come back from the dead. She doesn't answer. He isn't breathing. David. He's dead.
Yeah, lady. I guess he is. You see this glass bell he was holding? When he fell down, it broke. Looks like one of the pieces of it went straight into his heart. The bell killed him.
This is the mysterious traveler again. Yes, Dr. Williams was dead, but his son is alive and well, even today. Although it wasn't because the bell rang. Of course not. Anyhow, the bell is broken, so there's no way of proving whether or not it had strange powers of life and death, or whether it was just a coincidence that each time it rang, one of the dead lived and the living died. But if I were you, I'd certainly play safe. If you hear a bell ringing tonight, don't answer it. It might be ringing. Oh, you have to get off here. I'm sorry. But I'm sure we'll meet again. I take this same train each week at this time.
You have just heard The Mysterious Traveler, a series of dramas of the strange and terrifying. In tonight's cast were Maurice Toplin, Cameron Prudhomme, Eleanor Phelps, Donald Buca, Juan Hernandez, and Mort Lawrence. Original music was played by Charles Paul. The Mysterious Traveler is written, produced, and directed by Bob Arthur and David Cogan. Listen next week to a tale titled
Meet Me at the Morgue.
Another strange and shivery tale of the Mysterious Traveler. The Mysterious Traveler has come to you from our New York studios. Ralph Paul speaking. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Strange Wills. Stories of strange wills made by strange people, starring the distinguished Hollywood actor Warren William, and featuring Lorene Tuttle and Carlton Young, with Howard Culver and an all-star Hollywood cast. Original music by Del Castillo. I devise and bequeath to my heirs the 7 deadly sins: greed, despair, envy, hate, jealousy, pride, and anger. And here is Warren Williams.
These are the stories about strange wills and the secret lives of the even stranger people who made them. Time, places, and names have all been changed so that no reflection can fall on any person or persons, living or dead. Only the sin remains. It remains like a shrouded ghost of the dead departed, offering neither understanding nor solution. You'll presently see what I mean, but first, here is a brief message from your announcer.
Now here is Warren Williams as John Francis O'Connell in 7 Flights to Glory.
Everybody in town knew Lucy Witherspoon. She not only was a leader in the charmed 400 circle, but had more than doubled her deceased husband's fortune during the 10 years that she had taken over the actual management of his sprawling industrial empire. But even Lucy was not immune to the call of the Black Angel of Death. All her doctors, all of her power, could not keep Lucy Witherspoon in the land of the living. And when she finally realized that death was but a matter of days, she called me to her country estate to help put her affairs in order.
Now see here, John Francis O'Connell. I want no high-sounding platitudes or advice on how I am to distribute my estate. After all, I own it, not you. That's the trouble with you lawyers. You think you know everything. Well, you don't.
Lucy Witherspoon, the years haven't softened you a bit, have they? You're still as tart as a glass of, well, crabapple jelly. I'm not trying to...
Don't try to fool me. I know what you're up to. You want me to leave my entire estate to my son Robert, now don't you? Don't tell me you don't.
Of course I do, Lucy. That's no secret. He's your only child and a fine young man.
Fine young man, fiddlesticks. How many times have I tried to get him interested in my business? Now, you know. Don't try and say that you don't.
Yes, Lucy, I know. Time without end. And you've never succeeded. And do you know why?
Yes, I know why, John. Because Robert Witherspoon would rather waste his time painting pictures. He wants to be an artist. My son, an artist. And you know, too, John, that I've always been opposed to such nonsense. For 5 generations, the Witherspoons have been industrialists. And now I have a paintbrush dauber to carry on in the Witherspoon tradition.
Yes,
now,
but...
you listen to me. Listen to me. I'll have no more words. This is the way I want it to be. And this is the way it shall be. My entire estate to Robert Witherspoon, if he will assume full management and responsibility of my business for a period of 15 years. You understand?
Yes, Lucy?
I have an alternative that he can accept if he should prefer. Should my son decide not to accept the responsibilities of honest work, and should he persist in painting a pretty girl or some silly mountain rather than building an industrial empire, well, then I will give him the sum of $5,000 and a ticket to Paris. Yes, that's it. $5,000 and a ticket to Paris.
hello, Bob. Come in.
Hello, darling. How have you been?
Well, I was a little worried. I thought you'd never get here.
I'm sorry. I've been in my attorney's apartment on important business.
Oh, and how is our good friend John O'Connell?
Not so happy. You see, Kay, since Mother's death, I've given 3 months of careful thinking to the 2 provisions in her will, and, well, I've decided against taking over the management of Mother's business affairs.
Decided... Oh, but Bob...
Let me finish, please, darling. Kay, dear, I want to be an artist more than anything in life. I have a different sense of worldly values than Mother. I want to create. I simply have to. And so, well, I'm here tonight to beg you to come to Paris with me, struggle with me, and if necessary, starve with me.
Oh, Bob, really, you're joking.
I was never more serious in my life. Kay, I'm taking the $5,000 Mother left me and the ticket to Paris. I'm renouncing everything else. Now, won't you come with me? Life will be so wonderful, Kay, something I've always dreamed of. A studio on the left bank, an artist colony with flower stands and bookstalls sprawling along the Seine, and then the Louvre, the famous churches. Oh, Kay, there's only one Paris in the whole world.
Bob, I think you've lost your power of reason. You would give up a fortune of millions, honor and position, to live the life of a vagrant artist. And you expect me to give up my social position? My family, my friends, to starve with you?
Well...
I shan't do it. If you're the fool I never believed you to be, go right ahead. But if you do go, remember this. I'll break our engagement, definitely.
I see, Catherine. That old tradition, like father, like son.
That's exactly how I feel, Robert. Like father, like son. There are no 2 ways about it. Either you assume the responsibilities your mother left behind... or...
I'm sorry, Kay. I'm very sorry, because I love you very much. But if it's either or, then I take Paris.
It's no use, Bob. She won't be here to see you off.
Well, John, I sort of thought that she could at least have come down to the boat to say goodbye.
But don't you understand, Bob? Catherine is bitter. You've cast off something that just isn't understandable to her. You've tipped over the apple cart of tradition.
Yes, I know. I guess even she couldn't understand how I feel about being on my own. Tossing over a fortune isn't done every day, is it?
No, it certainly isn't, Bob. But you've tossed over more than a fortune. You see... You've ended her dream of the merger of 2 great fortunes and families.
Listen, John. You've been my mother's friend for many years, and mine, too. Now, tell me the truth. How do you feel about it? Am I the fool Catherine says I am?
Yes, Bob. In my opinion, you are.
I'm sorry.
Oh, wait, Bob. I'm not through. But if you are a fool, you're a glorious one that I envy with all my heart.
Thanks, John. You've got me all filled up. I didn't...
Go to it. Work like the very devil. And unless I miss my guess completely, within just a few years, you'll have a certain young lady awfully sorry that she didn't go on this glorious adventure with you.
All ashore, what's going ashore? All ashore, what's going ashore?
Well, goodbye, Bob. And remember, I know and understand. And when you need me...
I won't forget, John. And thank you.
The next 3 years brought noteworthy events. The first was the fashionable church wedding of Catherine Whiting to the multimillionaire architect and man about town, Harrison Blake. The second incident was likewise of tremendous importance. All the papers carried the story. Robert Witherspoon, American artist residing in Paris, had won the Parisian Academy Award and had captured first prize with his picture called Chansonnette. And 3 months later, I received a long letter from Bob. He asked me to extend his congratulations to Catherine. He also told me that he had just married a young French girl, the model of his prize-winning picture. Her name was Germaine Andre. 2 marriages and no compromise. One had followed tradition and had married wealth and security. The other had cast off wealth and security and had married his model. Well... things were really getting interesting. Almost a year later, I received a cablegram from Bob asking if I would fly over and attend his first exhibition in Paris. You bet I would. I made arrangements to leave the following week. When my plane arrived, Bob was waiting to greet me.
John, it's great to see you.
And I'm most happy to be here, too, Bob. It's almost like a family reunion. But, where's Germaine?
Let's get in one of these so-called cabs, John, and I'll tell you about it on the way home. Taxi! Rue Campesi, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, monsieur. Oui.
Now then, John, I'll tell you about Germaine. You see, when I married her greatest happiness came from the creation of something beautiful. She had no money. Her only income was from the few francs a day that she earned posing for the artists in the colony. To me, she represented an ideal. But man must live to create first and think of himself last. Well, as soon as I started making money, all that seemed to change.
What do you mean?
Well, Germaine tired of living a bohemian life. She wanted clothes, wealth, security, position. In fact, outside of Catherine's belief in tradition, there wasn't any difference.
No, I think that's quite understandable, Bob. And I still believe that there's a middle road for both of you and Germaine to follow. We'll talk about that later. Oh, by the way, as long as you brought up the subject of Catherine, I've got some interesting news about her.
I suppose she gave birth to an heir for her dynasty.
No, not that. Quite the contrary. She flew to Reno last week to file suit for divorce.
Part 2 of 7 Flights to Glory will follow in just a moment. And here again is Warren William as John Francis O'Connell.
As I climbed up the 7 flights of stairs to Bob's studio, I wondered if this was the price of genius.
Only one more flight, John. Don't give up.
I shan't give up, but must you artists always pick out places like this?
Just wait until you see it. Here we are. Presenting the inner sanctum of art, my studio. Well, how do you like it?
Well, it's magnificent. What a wonderful view of Paris. Why, I could almost paint here myself.
I knew you'd like it, John. Look out over Paris. Chimney tops, flower boxes, slate roofs, dormer windows. You see, look way over there to the left.
Eiffel Tower.
And where all of those trees line the street is the Champs-Élysées, and that patch of green is the Bois de Boulogne.
It takes my breath away. What's left of it.
It's been my inspiration all through the years. John, how I love Paris. The happiest days of my life have been spent right here. I slept, painted, and ate right in this room until...
Why did you ever leave this 7th heaven?
I didn't want to, but Germaine thought that we should live in a more pretentious place and just keep this as a studio.
I understand. Tradition rears its ugly head.
That's right. Wealth, security, tradition. Oh, well, enough of this. Let's drive over to the galleries. Germaine is over there supervising the hanging of the pictures, and the exhibit opens tomorrow, you know, and, well, keep your fingers crossed. Germaine, this is my very good friend, Monsieur O'Connell. John Francis O'Connell.
I'm happy to know you, Monsieur O'Connell. You will pardon my appearance, oui. I've been very busy with the pictures. But now, voila, it is fini. Robert will make a lot of money from this exhibit. N'est-ce pas, chérie?
Well, I hadn't thought of the money part, Germaine.
Ah, this pumpkin, Monsieur O'Connell. He never thinks of money, only the art.
Oh, it's so difficult.
That's what comes of being a real artist, perhaps, Germaine.
Real artists, oui. You find them by the dozen in the Latin Quarter, and all of them starving to death. I tell Robert that he should cultivate rich people and paint their portraits. Then he make much money for his baby. I want very, very much to take him to America after this exhibit is over. There are many rich millionaires there. Many would pay him much money.
But, Germaine, dear, that isn't what I want to be. I want to be an artist, not a leech. I've told you before, and I say it again. I'm going to stay right here in Paris and do the sort of thing I like, just as we did from the beginning. Don't you understand?
Je ne comprends, Robert. I do not understand. We have starved long enough. We sell the pictures and go to America, no?
No, dear, we stay in Paris.
Parbleu, if we stay in Paris, you shall stay alone.
Germaine, you can't...
Hey, excuse me, both of you, for intervening. But let's wait until the exhibit is over, and then I'm sure you can both compromise.
I'm sorry, John. Terribly sorry.
You will excuse me, monsieur. I have malady, headache. Perhaps that is why I'm so disagreeable. Bonsoir, monsieur. Monsieur O'Connell. Oh, it's wonderful, très magnifique. The exhibit is grand success. Already we have made 2 million francs, and more pictures to be still sold. Now you shall see. I shall take Robert to America. He shall be a rich fellow.
I'm very, very unhappy indeed, Germaine. His exhibit has really made him quite famous. All of the critics agree that Robert has a most brilliant future. Where is Bob?
At his studio. Oh, Monsieur O'Connell, he has been such a bad boy. He's sulky, like, what you say, stubborn mules. He wants to stay in Paris and work and work. He never wants to have fun.
It's not my province to interfere in your domestic problems, Germaine. And I don't intend to do so. I only hope that you both make the right decision. Bob is an artist, a real artist. I'd hate to have anything happen to that.
Have no fear, monsieur. He can still be an artist in America, but he will have to learn that he must paint first to sell, and then for the sake of art.
That night, Bob took me to his favorite rendezvous, a little Parisian nightclub in the Latin Quarter, which bore the dubious name of L'amour éternel. Eternal love, eh? I wondered about it as I went in the door. Oh, this is where you artists gather. I never would have suspected that you were so frivolous, young man.
I used to have a lot of fun here once, John, when I was an inspiring artist. Now it's sort of turned to ashes in my mouth. The great illusion has ended.
Oh, don't take it so hard, Bob. Germaine has really done a lot for you. Once she was your inspiration. She modeled for your greatest picture, remember?
Yes, I remember. Little Germaine. A crust of bread she asked for in those days. A crust of bread and a franc.
And now it's angel food and a pocket full of diamonds. Oh, well, lots of girls would do the same thing.
Listen, John. The last time I saw Paris. I remember that last night I called on Kay. I was whistling, and as I walked up to her home, boy, was I in the clouds. Well, I suppose she's got her divorce by now. It's too bad.
What's done's done, Bob. Wasn't it Omar Khayyam who said, the moving finger writes and having writ moves on? Nor all your piety and wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wash out a word of it.
Very apropos. nor all my tears wash out a word of it. Well, drink up, John. Champagne, the golden wine of forgetfulness. Here, let me fill your glass. Here's a toast. To Paris, the beautiful, the magnificent.
And to your happiness, Bob.
Yes, my happiness. It's sort of all bound up in that song. Yeah. No matter how they change her, I'll remember her that way.
I left the next day for London to conclude my business affairs before returning to America. Quite frankly, I was worried over Bob's marital happiness. I felt sure that if Germaine succeeded in bringing him to America, his great genius, his grand illusion, would shatter to bits. But what could I do? What could I possibly do to help him? A week later, the problem was solved without my help. Bob called me at my hotel.
It'll never have to be the last time I saw Paris, John. I'm staying on right here in my studio.
Well, you must have done some fast talking to Germaine.
You bet I did. It was easy.
That easy?
Sure. She took the 2 million francs from the art sale and gave me a divorce. She's sailing for America tomorrow. She said if I wouldn't paint portraits of the millionaires, that wouldn't stop her from meeting them.
I'll be through with my work here in about 10 days, and then I'll fly back to see you before I go home. Chin up, Bob.
I've got to start all over from scratch. All I need is another model. You better bring one back with you.
Okay, Bob. I'll look around. All Bob needed was another model and a new inspiration. Well, I'd see what I could do. But it couldn't be a smash-through center. No, it had to be an end run. The situation called for some rotteny deception. 2 weeks later, I was back in Paris. I went immediately to the studio. Bob wasn't there, nor was he at his apartment. I searched the whole quarter for him and finally found him at a sidewalk cafe. He looked wretched.
I'll get over it. It's just that I...
Well, I know how you feel, Bob. Anyone would.
I can't understand human nature. It's got me puzzled, John. Idealists today, money grabbers tomorrow. Boom goes their ideal. It's got me confused, utterly confused.
Well, let's not worry about it for the present, Bob. Tell you what we'll do. Come over to my apartment at the hotel for a day or two. Forget your studio. Forget art. Just for a little while. Then come back to it with a new approach.
Yeah, I wonder if I'll ever come back to it. It's like bitter wormwood tea. It won't be hard to forget, believe me.
Bob slept at my hotel the better part of the next 2 days. I came back to my apartment just as he was getting up.
John, I feel as though I've been sleeping for 20 years.
Well, you practically have. This is Thursday, and you went to bed on Tuesday afternoon. Feel better?
Like a new man. Let's go out and have some breakfast.
You mean lunch? It's almost 2 o'clock.
Okay, lunch then.
And after that, we'll ride over to your studio. I want to take one last look at the view before I leave.
You're leaving? Oh, no, please don't go just when I...
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. I have to return to the States at once. I have some important legal work.
Oh, of course. It's selfish of me to ask.
But don't worry. I think you'll get along all right. There's nothing been done that can't be undone. This is the last time I'm going to walk up 7 flights for a long time to come.
7 flights to glory. A little bit tarnished just now, but I still love it.
As soon as you've found a new model, you'll start over?
Yes, but no more entanglements. From now on, it's art. Pure, unadulterated art. The next time I hear a girl say money, I'll bring...
Here we are. Permit me to open the door.
Yeah. John, where did you find that model? What a figure. Golden hair, wonderful proportions. Hey, you, turn around. I want to see the face that comes with that perfect back. Catherine. Kay. Oh, Kay.
Bob. Oh, Bob, darling.
What on earth are you doing here? How in the...
I moved to Paris, Bob. I took a job as a model.
Mr. O'Connell offered it to me.
You want a model? I can't.
It's true, Bob, it's true. I want to be your model. And I'm going to live right here in the Latin Quarter if you'll let me. Oh, I was so wrong. So wrong.
Don't cry, darling. I was wrong, too. But come on, take off that robe and put on your dress, and we'll find a place for you to live.
I found one already.
You have a place to live? Oh, I don't believe it. Where is it?
It's here, Bob. Right here in the studio.
Here with all this paint and smells and canvases lying around?
Uh-huh. See, I thought we could both live here very nicely.
Both live here? Both of us?
Yes, darling, both of us. This morning I stopped off and got us a marriage license. I thought maybe we'd still have time.
Time to start our glorious adventure? Oh, yes, darling, we have. A lifetime from this day on.
Warren William will be back in just a moment to tell us more about the probate cause of 7 Flights to Glory. But first, here is a brief message from your announcer. And here again is Warren William.
Needless to say, Robert Witherspoon became one of the great contemporary artists of our generation. His pictures hang in every famous gallery on both continents. Catherine and Robert still live in their studio 7 flights up, and nothing in the world would make them leave. Is money, power, tradition so important in our lives? Well, ask Catherine and Robert about it. I'm sure that they wouldn't change their view of the Eiffel Tower for the gold of Midas. I wouldn't. Would you? Next week, I'm going to tell you the story of a strange will that defies the imagination. An old professor discovered how to pierce the secret of the past, and for his medium between the present and the shrouded secrets of antiquity, he used the mind of a beautiful, charming young lady. What he saw, as she lived again in the world of 1,000,000 years ago, well, you'll get the shock of your lives. We call this strange story The Girl from Shadowland. This is Warren William inviting you to be with us again next week.
Strange Wills is written by Ken Crepine and produced and directed by Robert Webster Light. This is a Teleways feature produced in Hollywood.